everybody, and welcome to round 11 of GNCC racing here at the CarMate Mountain Ridge National in Somerset, PA. The story here, fog, rain, high winds, and cold temps, all going to be contributing factors in both our classes here today. XC1 already wrapped up the title is Caleb Russell, but it's anybody's game here today. XC2, Jason Thomas has a commanding lead in the points, but we got 5 guys right behind him looking to make a race for it. We're going to see what happens here in unbelievable conditions at the Mountain Ridge National.
Megawatt as we're down here on the starting line now for the start of this 11th round of the AMSOIL GNCC series. And I'll tell you what, folks, as Megawatt was pointing out there just a moment ago, a little different on the weather side of things. It's foggy, it's drizzly, and it's very windy up here on the mountaintop at Mountain Ridge GNCC. And as we get set to roll into this 11th round of racing, we have the world's greatest motorcycle pilots converging here today, ready to tackle the rocks of Pennsylvania. And here they are, rolling to the line today first. He is second in points. He rides aboard the number 314. He hails from Belton, South Carolina on an Infab AM Pro Yamaha, the young Grant Baylor. Baylor readying himself now here at the starting line. Rolling to the line today, second. He is third in points. He rides aboard the number 989. He hails from Williamstown, West Virginia. Riding on the Rocky Mountain AMSOIL KR4, arrive and ride Husqvarna, Thad Duval. Rolling to the line next today, he is fourth in points. He rides aboard the number 9 with 1 win to his credit this season. Hailing from Crown Point, Indiana on the JCR Racing Honda, Chris Bach. Rolling to the line today, fifth in points, fresh off his first win of 2015. From Australia on a Rockstar Energy Husqvarna, Josh Strang. Celebrating his 31st birthday today. Fresh off a win just a few weeks ago at the ISDE. He hails from Ekron, Kentucky on an Air Group Rockstar Husqvarna, Ryan Sipes. Rolling to the line next today, aboard the number 3. He finished second here with, or third here last year with a podium position finish from Cookeville, Tennessee on an Infab AM Pro Yamaha, Jordan Ashburn. Rolling to the line next today, he is 8th in points, riding aboard the number 6 from right here out of the great state of PA, from Birdsboro on a Rockstar Energy Husqvarna Factory Racing Husky, Andrew DeLong. Rolling to the line next, 9th in points from Belton, South Carolina on a Mototech KTM, Stu Baylor. Rolling to the line next today, 10th in points aboard the number 121 from Logan, Ohio on a factory Beta, Corey Buttrick. Rolling to the line next today, he rides aboard the number 25, hailing from Morrison, Illinois on a Fun Mart Cycle Fly RidePG.com KTM, Adam Bernard. Rolling to the line next today, he rides aboard the number 20 from Cincinnati, Ohio on an Obermeyer Suzuki, backed by Fly Racing and Maxxis Tires, Chris Douglas. Rolling to the line next, a Canadian motocross champion from Canada on a Husqvarna of Canada Husky, the number 903, Tyler Medaglia. Rolling to the line next aboard the 331. He finished second at the ISDE just a month or so ago from Australia on an Infab AM Pro Yamaha, Daniel Milner. And last, and certainly not least, the former Japanese cross-country champion, hailing from Japan on an HR Motorsports Motivations Racing Great Western Moto backed Honda, Takeshi Koikeda. And that, ladies and gentlemen, your starting lineup for this CarMate Trailers Mountain Ridge GNCC. As they fire them up and warm them up, we are about 2 minutes away from going GNCC racing here today and continuing this battle. 13 rounds strong. We're in round number 11. The championship has been decided, but the second place position in points is up for grabs, as of course the young Grant Baylor holds that position at the moment, but he's got a lot of folks knocking at the door. Thad Duvall being one of those, as well as Ryan Sipes a little farther back, and even Josh Strang is knocking on the door as well. These guys are all wanting a piece of that second place pie as far as the series championship is concerned. But at this moment, a lot of hearts are beginning to pound down there on the starting line as the anticipation of this day's racing is just moments away. A $250 Hot Cams Whole Shot Award coming up for grabs here in just a few moments. All Balls and Hot Cams bringing you a $250 whole shot for the XC1 and a $100 whole shot for the XC2 Pro Lights class. Right now, Ricky Towery up in turn number 1. Has began the sequence of our starting as he is now informing these riders that we are just 1 minute away from going GNCC racing in these foggy conditions high atop this Mountain Ridge ATV resort in beautiful Pennsylvania. As the revs continue to roll here today, the hearts are pounding in the anticipation of about what is to take place here at Mountain Ridge. We could see a new winner in 2015, or we could see a repeat winner, and if Josh Strang has anything to say about it, we'll see a repeat winner. Same thing goes for Chris Bach. The blue flag is out. We're less than 30. Shut them down, guys. Shut them down, shut them down, shut them down. And I got to ask you, Pennsylvania race fans from out in the mist, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Oh, I hear you out there in the oblivion, but I know you can do better than that. Tell me one more time, PA. Are you ready to go Mountain Ridge GNCC racing? 10 seconds. And row number 1, the XC1 Pro, will be off and rolling at our car mate Mountain Ridge GNCC. $250 up for grabs as our riders round the first turn. Oh, down goes our first leader, and that's Chris Douglas on the Obermeyer Suzuki. Jordy Ashburn opening up in the number 2 spot, but it's a drag race. And tough break there for the 331 of Milner. He went down in that first turn, but he's got plenty of time, about 3 hours worth of it, to try to get things sorted out as we head down to the XC2 Pro Lights. Nick Davis, Jason Thomas, Craig DeLong, Sam Evans, Jedediah Haynes, Michael McGinnis, Trevor Bollinger, Austin Lee, Ricky Russell, Scott Grills, Philip Janey, Michael Witkowski, Ryan Lojak, Ryder Lafferty, Alex Benhart, Benjamin Kelly, Tegan Temple, and Colin May ready to roll in 10 seconds. And the kick starts are down. $100 whole shot again. And this All Balls Hot Cams whole shot award, and rounding the first turn, it's the 15 of Nick Davis solidly and almost going down there. And the door is open, and we got a KTM ride sneaking by. I got to wonder if maybe that was the 118 of Bollinger's threading some needles out there. We'll see, though, here shortly as we head down to row number 3 now, the Open A class with Zach Hayes, Luke Parsons, Nathan Thornhill, Daniel Sladovnik, Jesse Kildlow, Terrell Cunningham, Dalton Cross, Ben Parsons, Shane Fisher, Seth Eberhardt, Josh Lewis, Spencer Hoyt, Diego Rojas, also Lee Nieper, Zachary Loophole, Grant Marriott. 10 seconds. Bill Murphy, Luke Struck, Luke Ross, Dylan Rash, Zach Dodson, Lorendo Sylvia, Luke Himmler, also Joshua Brown, Andrew Boggs, and Dylan Dela Cruz. I don't know if that was the 419 of Luke Ross or Dylan Rash, or the Luke Ross 416. Well, somebody got the whole shot there as we go to the senior A40 plus class. Shotgun Sean Remington, Harry Engelhart, Brett Torchilla, James DeBerry, Rob Brown, Rob Hertz, Billy Schlag, Edgar Davis, Bob Bergman, Rob Petrin, and Robert Zelenki. Senior A40 plus class ready to roll next. That's Ricky Towery informs them from the mist and the fog that they've got a matter of only 10 seconds. Is up Paul Petrin out of Calgary, Canada on the KTM number 703. I believe it is. He grabs the early lead, but he's got the 418. Billy Schlegg out of Mechanicsville, Maryland on the Trail Pros Rhino Power Bell Helmets back machine. Giving him fits out of that second turn now. As we go to the Vet A30 Plus class, we got Joe Marsh, Joe Kessler, Big Jim Steiner. Also, we got our friend Brad DeMott, Garrett Cutherbriston, Gustavo Hidalgo, Jesse Arsenal, Eddie Lojak Jr., Fabian Barada, Nathan Allering, Mark McGrath, Tom Truxell, Nick Capasso in 10 seconds. The Vet A30 Plus class off and rolling as the green flag waves. We got a Husky jumping out to the early lead in this one, I believe. Let's see for sure. It's a round the turner. I think that might be Eddie Lojak Jr. And we go next to the 200A class. Not the biggest of fields, but I'll tell you, some of the really intense racing between these guys sometimes. Zachary Ferentz, John Hugel Jr., and Clint Masters, the 200A class, ready to roll on Ricky Towery's cue as he readies these riders and lets them know that we're approaching that 1 minute in 10 seconds. And they're off. The 200A class. It's the 339 of Clint Masters. Masters out of Morgantown, West Virginia, getting a good jump off the line there. And it is going to be the 263, though, taking over the lead there. I believe that's John Hugel, quite possibly. As we go to the 250A class, Vincent Smith, Mason Atherton, Evan Earl, Chris Vendetti, Ryan Slupko, Russell Smith, Vance Francis, Nolan Cipher, Eric Douglas, Mark Oresco, Sean Ben Hart, Mason Pratt, Connor Karkowski, Mark Bodwin, Hunter Neuwirth, 10 seconds. Brian Gunther, Thorne Devlin, Loic Leonard, Brandon Gearing, Braden Moore, Jonathan Johnson, and Noah Martz. Wow, Sean Benhart out of Smithville, Pennsylvania, Triangle Cycles, Bellray, and Jimmy Weiner, sponsor, gets a good jump off the line, but it's going to be the 50 of Mason Atherton out of Clarion, Pennsylvania. Ooh, yes, he will be able to hang on to that. He's on the Beaver Creek 700 shop back Husky machine. He's going to grab the early lead in that 250A class. Up next, four-stroke A lights, Brady Myers. Along with Michael Piller, Braxton McGee, Josh Lee, Chris McManus, Hunter Shelton, Tyler Braniff, Tristan Landrum, Logan Papul, and Jake Froman. 10 seconds. Four-stroke A lights off and rolling, 764. Is that 704? I think that's 704. Tristan Landrum out of Nelsonville, Ohio on the Sports Cycles Racing, Fly Racing, Bonsai Ensigns machine. Yep. Man, riding like lightning. Or he's riding lightning, it looks like. Junior A-B 25-plus class. Joseph McCarty, Jordan Overfield, Adam Clark, Aaron Coxon, and Eric Breitmeyer. The Junior A-B 25-plus class ready to roll next here at the Mountain Ridge GNCC as Ricky Towery informs these riders it's time to roll in 10 seconds. And they're off. Jordan Overfield gets a good jump off the line right now. Let's see if he can hang on to it. Coming out of the fog, it's the 426. And that might have been him. Different numbers on my sheet. So is the Bet 30 Plus, the Bet B class. Larry Hopper, Sean Morris, Gabe Ramirez, Dan Nyanko, Steve Yakovich. Also Chris Levin, Damon Kissel, Timothy Nelkin. seconds. Glenn Hayes, Nick Wise, Tim Bredinger, Jared Hoffman, Freddie Bain, Jeremy Dexter, and Scott Dowland. The VAD B 30+ class rounding the first turn. Whoa, man, it got a little slick there. A couple riders getting together. I think they're both going to be all right. But these greasy conditions like this can sometimes see things like that taking place. Open B coming up next. Timothy Baroni, Juan Balandra, also Roman Phipps. We got Josh Adkins, Bill Zavendi, Carl LeBlanc, Jonathan Harker, Ryan McManus, Matt Thorge. We got Andrew Wilson, James Harshberger, Michael Hall, George Shell, and Dustin Stanley. Trying to get that first or second turn region shaped up there for these riders. Got the thumbs up. Here we go, says Ricky Towery. 10 seconds. Open B class off and rolling now as the kick starts are down. From out of the fog, they roll. And it's 7:10. George Shell from Shear, West Virginia, in this Open B class, opening up with the early lead. Senior B 40+ class, Scott Campbell, Devin Ferguson, Mark Adkins, Troy Stoltz, Mark Proper, Michael Beckett, Gene Swidwa, Will Gribben, and Mike Kochman. Ready to roll here in the Senior B 40+ class. 10 seconds. See if Mike Kochman is able to pull this one out of Powell, Ohio on the KTM. Oh, no. Who's this one going to be? That might have been Will Gribben there. I'm not sure, but that might have been beta rider Scott Campbell also. We'll check in with that in a bit. Right now, it's 4-stroke B Lights getting set to roll next. Adam Hollenkamp, Bolton B Roth. We got Trey Jefferson, Brendan Poling, Adam Lewis, Michael Tetlow, Drew Bolton, Trevor Ikas, Austin Evans, Alex Ankerman, Luke Francis. 10 seconds. And our 4-stroke B lights are off and rolling now. Good drop off there by one of our Kawasaki pilots. Let's check them out as they round the first turn, heading for turn 2 now. It's 5:34. Trevor Elks out of Carn City, Pennsylvania. Grabbing that early lead in. That's all right. Just happened to be standing right next to his papa. That's pretty cool. 250 B class coming up next. Cody Kleiss, Mike Miller, Dustin Trey, Will Hart, Cole Madison, Randy Roberts, Connor Keegan, Judd Lott, Gregory Coffey, Brian Klementowski, Coleman Brinson, Justin Murphy, Cook Beckert, and Brewer Cawley. 10 seconds. .225, Mike Miller from Fairmont, West Virginia, Expert Exhaust Maxxis and Scott backed ride, rolling into that first turn, and now the second turn. And that brings us to our final start of the afternoon. This, our 200B class, Zachary Hugel, Cameron Sisk, Colton Cupp, Ian McElroy, Adam Parker, Justin Michelazzi, and Caleb Williams. 10 seconds. .200B off and rolling now. 140, or that'd be 240 of Cameron Sisk. Let's see if we can get a better number on that now. And I believe that's who it was, Cameron Sisk on the Yamaha there. As that'll wrap up our starts here for the day, my friends, and also set us on course for a 3-hour race here at the Mountain Ridge ATV Resort Park. And of course, folks, stick around here on RacerTV.com as we'll pick the action back up here and take you through it all on RacerTV.com.
Any engine, any season. At home, at the track, or on the trail. AMSOIL for any engine.
I'm a sore loser.
I'm a sore loser.
Losing is not an option for me.
Be the best.
The best?
The best.
You have to have the best equipment under the hood.
That's why
I only use
Cometic products in my engines.
Cometic gasket.
Cometic gasket. Cometic gasket.
Cometic gasket, a superior quality gasket.
For those of us who demand the highest level of performance.
This Racer TV live broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. By Rocky Mountain ATV MC, get ready. By Maxxis Tires, find your flow. And powered by Yamaha Generators.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Racer TV's coverage of Round 11 GNCC, the CarMate Mountain Ridge. I'm here with Johnny Gallagher, and your host, Rodney Tomlin, will be joining us just a minute. I'm Matt Megawatt Watson. Johnny, all kinds of stuff to talk about here so far in this one. Naturally, visibility, temperature, wind, and last but not least, overall track condition.
Yeah, absolutely, Megawatt. You know, the biggest thing we can say here early, the biggest factor that we can see right on screen is going to be visibility. We always talk about vision, you know, whether it's dust, whether it's mud. Well, today we've got something we've maybe never seen before in GNCC racing, at least in my history, and that goes a long ways back, which is this fog that has come in. We're at elevation here. We're on top of this mountain ridge at the CarMate Mountain Ridge GNCC, and it's playing havoc with the vision. And it seems to be getting worse. These clouds are coming in, and, you know, it's really making these riders think they can barely see past their front fender in a lot of these fields, and this is a fast track. So these guys are going to be going through goggles quick. They're going to be spending a lot of time in the pits, and as you can see, they're really, you know, pushing themselves. As we can see, only keep in mind as you're watching this, the speed these guys are running, and we can only see them coming maybe 30, 40 feet before they get to us, which means they can only see 30 or 40 feet ahead of them. It's almost impossible to battle somebody when you can't see them.
Johnny, we've heard the term before, riding blind, but this is a whole different situation. You know, we've talked about, like you say, dust, we've talked about mud, but when you're talking about fog, Johnny, this fog has continued to move in on us since about 8 o'clock this morning. We thought it might move out as the afternoon progressed, but it's actually moving in on top of the mountain. Now, conditions that a few people are used to riding. A different situation is, even though the sunlight's not out, you see there's a definite glare reflecting off of the fog. So now, instead of having a covering of dust or a covering of mud, you've got this mist on your goggles, and you're getting a glare and a reflection back from the fog. So a very unique set of vision situations.
Yeah, absolutely. And anybody that's ever been to Snowshoe knows that up on top of that mountain there at Snowshoe in the morning, it's very common to have this fog, these clouds actually, at Snowshoe they are, that roll in and you really can't see much. but we've never seen this at a race other than snowshoe, and we've never seen it for our 1 p.m. Occasionally we'll see it for the 10 a.m. race early. It's common to see in the 8 a.m. races up at elevation at snowshoe and places like that, but these guys most likely have never raced in these conditions before. So it's a unique challenge for everybody, you know, and it's really, as we're watching these guys work their way through there, we see Chris Bach, Adam Bonner, look like we saw Ryan Sipes, Stu Baylor working their way through just ahead of that. Last report, it was Jordan Ashburn out front, and you know, we got to point out the fact that it looks like that appears to be Corey Buttrick working his way by in his factory beta. You know, it's going to be tough on us today to be able to pick out who these guys are, so imagine them at speed trying to pick their lines.
You know, I think it's going to come down to sections today, Johnny. They're actually going to literally have to break this track down into sections because that's all you can see is section at a time. And you and I mentioned watching these guys coming out of the fog, you only have about 30 feet to make the judgment of who that is. So how do you respond to a rock or a tree with 30 feet's notice?
It's all going to be on instinct, honestly, Megawatt. You know, these guys aren't going to be able to plan their lines ahead of time. They're going to have to just react to what pops out of the fog at them and react quickly. So we just saw our leaders in XC2 come by. Looked like it was Tegan Temple with Jason Thomas hot on his heels. Appeared to be Nick Davis in third. And then in fourth place, it looked like it was Ricky Russell to me. And again, I didn't catch numbers. I was just going by riding style. So apologies ahead of time if we make any mistakes on the calls today. We'll do the best. There we see the 1, 2, 3 of Austin Lee with that signature mohawk. But getting back to what we were talking about there, the rider out front is, in fact, at last check, Jordan Ashburn, the number 3 Ampro Yamaha. And, you know, one thing we can't touch on enough is how much Jordan likes the mud. You know, he really enjoys it. He has a good attitude coming into these races. I'm sure if you happen to be around the Ampro pits this morning, Dave Ashburn may have even muttered that phrase a time or two. Jordan likes the mud, you know, and he does very well in it. His results, you know, are above and beyond what you expect from Jordan. Obviously, he's a podium contender anytime he goes to the track. Now, let's double up here. Jordan Ashburn not only likes the mud, he likes this facility. Last year here, he battled Caleb Russell until the last lap for a win. One of the few guys last year that was able to put Caleb up against the rope all year long, and he did it here at this very facility. So combine the fact that he probably had a good attitude coming here. When then we get the rain, we get these conditions, he's got to be on cloud 9 right now, or more appropriately, in cloud 9.
Yeah, he's absolutely in the cloud right now. When you talk about him and his ability, a lot of guys talk about, well, I like the fast, I like the technical, I like the dry, I like the mud. It's proven time and time again he's a mud rider.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt. Last year's conditions, when he served notice to Caleb last year, very similar condition. We didn't have the fog, but it was drizzly, it was cold, and it was slick conditions. And you know what? There was Jordan Ashburn right up front.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and if last year we had super dusty conditions on Saturday for the ATV race, and then what happened was about midway through that bike race, I'm sorry, the 10 a.m. bike race, we got a downpour that turned the track to very similar conditions to what we're seeing here today, like you said. And the crazy thing, after having raced this track yesterday and also spoken with youth riders, I spoke with this morning's winning rider, Jesse Ansley, and he said, man, I was shocked. I couldn't believe how good the conditions were. Was speaking with some of the WXC riders in hearing their podium interviews you did earlier. Casey Martinez, Taylor Jones, and Becca Sheets all commented on the fact that they could not believe how good the dirt was and how good the conditions were based on what you're seeing here in the pits. And as we see it here on camera, and that's what's great about RacerTV Live, you don't have to guess about the conditions. You can see it right on the screen. The dirt is great in the woods.
Johnny, that looks fantastic. That looks really fun to me. I'd actually like to be on the bike and out there right now. When we watch the last rider come through, I'm not sure. There's absolutely some light dust coming out of the bottom of that corner. So that tells me the moisture is rolling off of the top. And what do you use for drainage in a ditch? You use gravel, you use rock, and there's a lot of that here. So the ground is absorbing that moisture, and we're going to see this throughout the day, certain spots starting to dry out. And even our mud hole is not deep, though. Even our mud hole is not over the knobbies.
Yeah, no, there's definitely sections in the woods where there's quite a bit of water, not standing water, but water spread throughout like we see here. So again, I don't think we're going to have huge issues with bottlenecks or riders getting stuck. There's a couple of mud crossings, there's a couple of mud holes that if you do pick the wrong line, you could definitely bury it. But, you know, there's a lot of diversity in this track, and as you said, the thing that really shocked me yesterday, I was battling a little bit with Chris Bithell and Landon Wolf. I believe it was on lap 2. We were hammered down on a straightaway, and all of a sudden a plume of dust kicked up, and, you know, it really confused me. I wasn't sure what was going on, but, you know, there's a lot of adverse conditions, there's a lot of great conditions, but there's a lot of diversity out there, and I believe we actually have a track description on exactly what these guys are encountering throughout the next 3 hours from our GNCC course marshal, Barry Hawk.
Hello everyone. We have a 10-mile track laid out here. As you can see behind me, the weather's pretty nasty. It's windy, it's cold, but that's GNCC Racing. All conditions, all elements. When these guys take off the start here, the first real obstacle they're going to get to is at the 1 mile marker. It's the FMF power point. We opened up a couple lines yesterday. If you take the, when they get to them, they're going to make a left and go up the power point. If you choose not to do that and you go around, it's probably 15 seconds slower to go around. So that's going to be a critical point on the track. From there, the next row obstacle they're going to encounter is around the 4 mile marker. From the 4 all the way to the 5.5 is pretty rocky. It's not massive rock gardens, but just a lot of small rock gardens. So it's pretty interesting in there with all the rocks. From there, past the 6 mile marker along some trackside pitting, and then drop back down over the hill from trackside, and then from the 7 all the way to the 8.5 is a lot more rocks in there. So it's the guys are going to need to take their time. I know they're going to want to rush it and get through them rocks, but they need to take their time and pick good lines through those rocks. Once they get through there to the 8 mile marker, 8.5, all the way into the 9, and then into the finish. So they were calling for this nasty weather all week, so when I laid the track out, I kind of tried to keep it pretty tame and not put any mud holes in it. And it's so far it's holding up pretty good, and hopefully everybody enjoys it.
And we're back, and thank you very much for that track description, Barry Hawk. And one of the things that we really could see in that shot was, although we had what we considered to be inclement conditions yesterday, obviously with the rain, with the fog, with the clouds, and with the wind. The biggest thing up here is the wind. You know, we are on a windmill farm, but we could see all the way clear over to the next mountain. And now we're joined by RacerTV announcer Rodney Tomlin. Rodney, you know, obviously the conditions have changed, and actually we see our leader checking in, and it is in fact Jordan Ashburn out front. And boy, we can barely see him, and we're only 40 feet away from the finish line.
I know, it's pretty amazing, the limited visibility that we have, and you can see it there as the riders are making their way in on the camera. The thing about it is, we see that at a distance, but once you're actually right there, the visibility is not as bad as what it appears on the TV screen. I do want to point that out. It is limited, but it's not quite that bad, I don't think.
No, but, you know, Rodney, look at the lead Jordan Ashburn has over now his teammate, Grant Baylor, checking into the 2nd place spot, and Thad Duvall, the number 989 KR4 Husky rider, checking in the 3rd place spot. He's gone. He's checked out this first lap.
Jordan Ashburn, if I remember right, had a good year here last year, if memory serves me correct. And there's something about this particular type of terrain that he seems to excel. We've seen him do it at Masontown a couple of years ago, and maybe even a little earlier this year. But this year it's taken him a little more time to get up to speed. And, man, I tell you, once he's up. And today he's showing that he's ready for this event. You know, I talked to him about it. He said he's a little concerned with the rain and stuff on the rocks with it being a little slick. But he still felt confident, felt like, hey, he might be able to get that first win today.
Yeah, you know, and he's showing exactly right now what happens when a rider finds some confidence. You know, he's not only, I don't know if he did grab that hole shot or not, but he got to the front early, and he has completely checked out. I believe it's 32 seconds on the first lap, and that might be one of the bigger leads we've seen all year. Now we see the rest of our riders checking in, and as we refresh our screen here, we see that we've had Jordan Ashburn with the lead, Grant Baylor in 2nd, Thad Duvall 3rd, Ryan Sipes in the 4th place spot, Stu Baylor in 5th, Andrew DeLong 6th, Daniel Milner in 7th, Josh Strang 8th, Chris Bach 9th, and I don't think we've had our 10th place rider check in just yet. And so there is Chris Bach in the JCR pits there in 9th place. But, you know, the M-Pro NFAB team obviously really starting off strong here with the top 2, and looks like 3 of the, actually I guess Milner's in 7th. So 3 of the top 7 riders, those guys are hard on the gas. Now we see our 10th place rider, Corey Buttrick, checking in, followed by what appears to be Chris Douglas and Adam Bonner in 11th and 12th. Then here comes the leaders in XC2. Tegan Temple in the 1st place spot. Jason Thomas in 2nd. I believe that is Nick Davis in 3rd. And then 4th place appeared to be the Ricky Russell there in the 4th place spot. So there's our top 4 in XC2.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, looking at this rundown, we talked about the confidence levels being boosted 2 weeks ago. And so we're into the pits now. There's your leader, Jordan Ashburn. And oh, that's not Ashburn, is it? That's Ricky Russell going in, I guess. I missed earlier pit stops. But regardless, you know, these guys newfound confidence once they found out the problem with Caleb Russell there heading into Unadilla. And now that Caleb isn't even here, the confidence level has elevated that much more. As we can, I think it's reflecting in the early results after this first lap of racing, the confidence level that we're seeing out of Ashburn. This is one of the better starts that we've actually seen for Grant Baylor.
Yeah, absolutely, Rodney. You know, we've seen Jordan Ashburn is a phenomenal starter. He's always he picked right up where Paul Whibley left off on that Yamaha. Always pulling whole shots. Seems to be, fires that thing up lightning quick and just like a bullet to the first turn. He gets there so quick. So I don't know if he did get the XC1 Pro Whole Shot Award, but I'm sure he was up there. Obviously worked his way to the front very quickly, and then has been able to stretch that and turn that into a 32-second lead. But as you pointed out, Grant Baylor, who's typically a slow starter, we usually see him turn it up typically around the 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
So for him to be in second this early, that's something we haven't seen here much at all lately. So it's that looks like Scott Grills there, I believe, or that perhaps Callan May. Nope, that is Grills. He's in, getting a fresh pair of goggles and back out into the wild blue yonder.
You know, taking a look at the pits, you see it looks like a ghost town over there. A lot of guys not putting up their pit structures because of the windy conditions that we're faced with here today. So it looks a little different. You can see that Pro Row itself looks different. The mesh walls and stuff that we normally have built aren't up simply because the wind is just that strong here this weekend at this windmill farm on top of Mountain Ridge. Right now, folks, it's still early in the race. Lap 2, we got Ashburn, we got Baylor, we got Duvall 1, 2, and 3. Ryan Sipes is celebrating his 31st birthday today in 4th. Stu Baylor, believe it or not, man, look at this. This kid, you know, when you think he's down and the chips are down on him and he's out, man, he fights back and he's running top 5 early on here. And this is a good time to state this. Who do you think is going to win? I mean, we got the AMSOIL Twitter contest. Tweet your podium finish predictions and hashtag them GNCC Live for a chance to win $250 in AMSOIL product. We'll choose the winner randomly at the end of the show. But this is going to be one of those, I think, that's going to be tough to call, man. I mean, you can go with what we're seeing early on here, or maybe you can go out on a limb and try something totally different. And, you know, looking at the way things are starting to unfold here, I got to say, coming into this day, I was all Josh Strang all the way, and even with him as far back as 12th overall, I think that's 9th in the XC1 Pro class, I'm still thinking that Josh still might have a chance to get up there on the podium and maybe battle for one of the top spots today.
Well, certainly we're going to see a lot of things shake up between now and 3 hours from now, or 2.5 hours from now when we see a checkered flag come out for the finish. But as far as my top 3, Rodney, I can't even say that this is a Johnny-come-lately move, because I would have predicted that Jordan Ashburn was going to be up there battling for a win. In fact, in the group message, a bunch of us were talking about the conditions this week, and we just kept bringing up the fact that Jordan likes the mud. You know, he really does. He does well in it. He rides well in it. He has a lot of podiums. And, again, here last year in very similar conditions, minus the fact that the visibility was much better, he put Caleb Russell right up against the ropes and held him there, leading upwards of 2 hours, and I believe not officially settling into that second place spot until the final lap. Caleb Russell really didn't put any kind of time on him. They battled all the way up until the white flag. So with Caleb not here today, obviously he's up to this point kind of been the class of the field. Josh Strang getting a win at our last race, I think that's going to boost his confidence. I think he'll be up there battling for a podium, but he's got himself in a little bit of a hole here early. So I'm going to go with Jordan Ashburn for the win, Grant Baylor for second, and I'm going to put Thad Duvall in third. So I'm going to go the way they run, that's the way they're going to finish.
Well, you know, it's hard not to argue with that, and you're absolutely right. However, I'm going to keep Jordan Ashburn in there, and I'm going to put Thad Duvall in there. I'm going to bring Josh Strang up to second, though. I'm going to predict that Josh Strang will be at least second. I'll go with you on the Jordan Ashburn thing. I think he's got things laid down there. And Duvall, I think he's strong enough to run podium position all day today as well. So the only difference there, I think, is something about it tells me when Grant Baylor starts strong, he seems to struggle toward the end of the race. Maybe this might be the changing times, though. The winds have changed, might be blowing here on Mountain Ridge. You never know, though. I could be wrong.
Absolutely. The most important thing, though, is make sure you get that get those predictions in on Twitter and hashtag GNCC Live, and you get a chance to win that $250 in AMSOIL products. And how exciting is it that, you know, there's been many races over the years, and we've been very fortunate here in the GNCC series the past several years to have so many good battles for wins and podium positions. But honestly, I don't know what it is, and obviously, Caleb Russell, if you're at home watching, we miss you, wish you were out here doing battle, but it's kind of a new life has been breathed into these guys, and I'd say there's 10 or more guys with a legitimate shot at going out there and getting on the podium today, and, you know, we've all kind of called our favorites, and neither one of us tagged guys like Andrew DeLong, who's podiumed before, is from Pennsylvania, rides very well in the rocks, and does great in these kind of conditions, and he's sitting real close there in the 6th place spot. Stu Baylor, obviously probably trying to make a big impact for sponsorship for, you know, rides and deals for next year. If he can ride through the little bit of pain that he might be in, or a lot of bit of pain, you know, obviously he's a tough guy, he could certainly be up there. Chris Bach has already been on the podium a number of times this year, won a race. He does well in the rocks, does well in the slick stuff. So, I mean, there's so many guys. Milner, who had a great ride there at ISDE, all these guys are capable of getting up there and battling for a podium. But the most important part is it makes exciting racing for those of us here at the track and for everybody watching at home on GNCC Live.
Well, right now we are 33 minutes into this race, just a little over 33 minutes. Jordan Ashburn, Grant Baylor, Thad Duvall run 1, 2, and 3. It's Ryan Sipes and 4. Stu Baylor rounds out your top 5. GNCC Live continues after this.
Randy McLeod, if there's a Randy McLeod out there, could you work your way over to the RacerTV trailer as soon as possible, please?
Well, Johnny, right now I know we got
The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pools per side. Durability in the toughest conditions.
General RV is going to help you go camping with locations across the nation and thousands of RVs to choose from. General RV is the nation's largest family-owned RV dealer. At General RV, you'll save thousands on everything from trailers that sleep the whole family right up to motorhomes that are amazing and so economical to travel in. General RV is the only dealer who can show you this much and save you this much. With a great deal from General RV, you'll discover how much fun camping can be.
And welcome back to GNCC Live here from the Mountain Ridge GNCC. 38 minutes into this one, Rodney Tummel along with Johnny Gallagher and also Megawatt Matt Watson out and about. We'll be hearing from him here shortly. And Johnny, we get a good look at this 5-mile marker down here on lap number 2. We are joined here about 38 minutes now into the race. Last check, Jordan Ashburn, Grant Baylor, Thad Duvall were running 1, 2, and 3. Ryan Sipes in the number 4 spot aboard the 264, and Stu Baylor in 5th. Andrew DeLong back in the number 6 spot. Tegan Temple 7th. That is your XC2 Pro Lights class leader, and he's 7th overall. Jason Thomas running in the number 2 spot in that class, 8th overall. Nick Davis is 3rd in the class, number 15 and 9th overall. Ricky Russell, who's 4th in the class, is running 10th overall. And if you look at the gap between those riders, Johnny, a very tightly knit group of riders, 4 riders within about 7 seconds of each other. When you start doing the math here, it's a little over a second there back to Thomas between Tegan Temple and Jason Thomas. Another 3 seconds back to Nick Davis. Another 3 seconds back to Ricky Russell. So we got 4 of the fast guys up front in this XC2 Pro Lights class right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, these guys have been the guys that, you know, if you look at Ricky Russell, Jason Thomas, and Nick Davis, those are the 3 guys that have been out front quite a bit this year in that XC2 battle. And the guy that's out front right now in the XC1 battle is this guy right here, the number 3 NFAB and Pro Yamaha rider, Jordan Ashburn. No goggles on, though, as he works his way through the 5-mile mud hole.
We saw the same thing out of Walker Fowler yesterday. He was up front with a clear field of vision. And, you know, Johnny, you and I were talking about it off during the break there about the visibility, you know, about how foggy it is up here on top of the mountain. Wow. Is that Thad Duvall?
Thad Duvall there picking his bike up off the ground, so obviously it appears he'd made up quite a bit of time there on Jordan Ashburn.
Yeah.
And then dumped it, and now it looks like he's back to probably upwards of that 30-second gap that he had. So Thad on the gas charging hard, but that's what happens in these conditions. When you push it, mistakes sometimes come up to bite you. Looks like Thad's okay, does still have goggles on, so he's going to go back to work trying to reel in Jordan Ashburn. Now we see Grant Baylor in the 3rd place spot working his way through. You can see these guys, a lot of them are opting to run the elephant ear or the additional hand guards to try and keep some of the wind off. It's not really so much the mud today, it's the wind that they're trying to keep off their hands. Everybody was complaining yesterday about cold fingers. Now we see the 4th place ride of Ryan Sipes working his way through. Looks like he also does have goggles on, so it looks like out of those top 4 there, the only one that was missing their goggles was our leader, Jordan Ashburn.
And that's the same thing yesterday with Walker Fowler. I don't know if it's about being out front and not having anybody in front of you to throw the mud and stuff up in your face. Is that Andrew DeLong checking in now?
Andrew DeLong in the 5th place spot,
yeah,
so he's moved up a spot from when we last saw him.
Stu Baylor, it looks like. And
there is Stu Baylor.
So a couple of changes we've seen. Both Baylor boys have lost a spot here in this second lap of racing as we are near the 5-mile marker.
And that was Josh Strang working his way through our shot. So he was 7th early. Looks like he's worked his way up to 6th. Now we see Jordan Ashburn working his way up all the way up to the top of the ridge, and that'll take him up to the top of the windmill farm. And that's where they really start to feel the effects of this weather with the cold and the wind up on top. So,
and you can see that the visibility is a little more limited by the camera anyway on top of the hill than it is down in some of the lower areas off the top of the mountain here they tell us that actually the wind's not nearly as bad down there either.
No, it's definitely not. Yesterday we did some walking after the 1 p.m. ATV race. There goes Chris Bach working his way through. Looks like he's also without goggles. So again, vision a problem for a lot of these guys. Now Thad Duvall in second place working his way up. He's going to head up to the top through the fog. What you can't see up there is it's a big long uphill, heads up to the pits, and then these guys work their way along the backside of VP Fuels Pro Row before eventually working their way around to the other side of the mountain to come over where a lot of them are going to be stopping for goggles, gas, gloves, and maybe for a quick little warm-up. Looks like Jason Thomas. There is Nick Davis. So don't know if we missed Tegan Temple there or not, but I don't know if we didn't see him. That means that he has dropped back out of the lead. So possibly Jason Thomas taking over that point position. You know, we can't say enough. How about Jason Thomas and Nick Davis? Those two guys just seem to, no matter what happens, they find each other all day, every day.
And you know, the great thing about it is I think both those guys really seem to trust each other. As heated as the competition is between those two, I mean, they're willing to take it to limits that maybe they wouldn't with another rider or against each other, because they both trust each other enough to ride like that.
Well, I don't know if it's a matter of trust or if it's a matter of necessity.
Might be both.
Yeah, I think
more necessity.
Obviously, neither one of those guys would probably do anything to hurt the other one. But at the same time, I think they'll run each other wide, left and right. And you know, I think that's a benefit to a lot of these other XC2 riders a lot of times, because those two race each other so hard. You would think that they propel each other forward, but we've seen so many times these two will run it in on each other every corner and push each other to the banners. So a rider behind them can really ride 80% and stay with them because they're taking each other, you know, wide in every corner.
I got to say, since we've seen that one incident earlier in the year, though, I mean, I think it has really, I think they found a better pattern with themselves out on the track. And I know we did have those earlier incidents.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. And there we just saw some dust kick up as that rider went through. I'm not sure exactly who that was, but it's crazy, like we talked about. The conditions so strange here today at the Mountain Ridge CarMate GNCC. But yeah, no, Rodney, you're absolutely right. Nick Davis and Jason Thomas have been the class of this XC2 field this year so far. They battled each other so many times, so many races. And although they do push each other to the limit, we had some incidents early on. I think we had the Racer Productions and GNCC officials have some talk with these guys and say, hey, race hard, but race clean. We don't want to see any of that kind of stuff. And I don't think it was intentional. I think they just got heated, got worked up. And now what we've seen so far these last few races is that those guys are racing each other hard. And now here we see it again. Nick Davis taking over the lead, Jason Thomas back to second, and that is Tegan Temple in third, and I believe that was Ricky Russell in fourth. So those guys, all three, still right together battling each other. After 44 minutes of racing, you can slip a sheet of paper between all of them.
That's pretty crazy. About 4 minutes these riders are due in, possibly closer to 5, as we do have a little bit of extra length as Chris Bach makes his way by here at the 7-mile marker. A shot we didn't get to see a whole lot of yesterday, but rather majestic looking shot, if you will. I mean, the way the fog and stuff is setting it up. But one thing to point out about this Mountain Ridge facility, man, some very beautiful places right here on top of the mountain. And if you look out as far as the view is concerned, very beautiful all around here. Fall colors are really starting to pop through.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it is very scenic up here on top of this mountain ridge out here in Somerset, Pennsylvania. You know, you can see a couple mountains in each direction, and it's kind of crazy to see all the windmills. There we see Nick Davis, no goggles. So now I think is when the vision is really starting to come into play. Now, as you mentioned, yesterday you said that Walker Fowler possibly taking those goggles off to see better. That was actually not the case. I did speak with him after the race, and it's a matter of the mist and the way the wind and the mist are. Even when you're out front, it's just as bad as being behind somebody, because you're taking so much constant mist to the goggles. You're always pulling, or for some of these guys that are running tear-offs, you're constantly pulling tear-offs, and you run out very quickly. Once that happens, you have no choice. You'll keep those goggles on as long as you possibly can. Walker actually told me after the race yesterday he was playing a game with himself, trying to see just how long he could keep his goggles on, and was waiting the absolute maximum amount of time until he literally couldn't see what was going on in front of him before he would pull his roll-offs, because he wanted him to last that full lap. He said he did pretty well, but a few times halfway through before making it about to where we are now at the 7-mile marker, he had to pitch goggles and then pick up a set in the pits about 2.5 miles later. But you know, one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to run without goggles. There's so many things that can happen. It's such a safety concern as far as debris. You know, at this track we've got mud, we've got rocks, you got dirt, you got a lot of pine trees out there. There's pine thickets that we race through. The branches hang down, and especially when they get heavy with the mud, when they smack you in the face, if one of those things gets you in the eye, like those you see hanging down there, you'll see the guys ducking under those. But further places in the back, those pine trees are even lower. If they get you in the eye, you're going to have to pull over and clean your eyes out with some water before you can even go 1 inch further.
Something you've done on more than one occasion, I recall.
Unfortunately, I've actually had 2 potential wins over the years taken away from me due to vision issues where actually I physically could go no more, and what happens is your eyes have a safety reaction where when they get scratched, they just close, and there's nothing you can do. You can't force them open. You're done for the day. So all these guys doing the best they can to try and keep goggles on. So if you see guys riding around without goggles on, it's not by choice. It's because they're waiting until they get back to the finish line to go through that VP Fuels Pro row to try and get some fresh goggles.
Now here comes a good question. I know I talked to different riders, and different riders will tell you different things. I guess it's all on experience, and you being a rider, I'm sure you'll have your own opinion on this. But roll-offs versus tear-offs in a situation like this. I mean, mud and then mist like this, I think, are 2 different things that you got to be looking at. I know some folks talk about, mud or water getting in behind the tear-offs, and you might have to rip more than one off at a time. Others saying that the same thing will happen with the roll-offs. It'll get behind that film and you won't be able to keep that vision clear. What do you think works best in conditions like this?
Well, actually, there's no discussion whatsoever in conditions like this. Roll-offs would be the only option. Tear-offs would be a complete waste of time. You might as well not even have goggles on. But even on a bike, and there is a difference between, believe it or not, because of ATVs versus bikes. As an ATV rider, we run roll-offs 100% of the time, no matter what. Reason for that is we actually roost ourselves with our front tires when we turn. So even on a dry day, we're constantly taking, obviously sections of the track are watered on a dusty day. You're getting roosted. You're constantly having, we basically ride with one hand off the bars 50% of the time just so we can see. As a rider who races recreationally and rides a dirt bike, I got to tell you, tear-offs are the way to go on a dry day because you have a better field of vision. Instead of just having that strip, you can actually see everywhere out. So no question, on a dry day, I would absolutely run tear-offs. And possibly on a muddy day, if I felt like I was going to be able to get out front, I would consider running tear-offs just because the vision is, at times, that much better. On a day like today, there's no question whatsoever. It wouldn't even be possible to race this race and make a lap with tear-offs. I don't care how many stacks you put on there, you're going to rip through them so fast, you'd be absolutely out of vision within a few miles because of the fact that this mist or these clouds that we're seeing is actually moisture. So as you're going across the fields, it's hitting you in the eyes. You're having to pull those tear-offs to be able to see, and the most possible tear-offs you could maybe put on would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 tear-offs. You'd rip through those in probably, if I had to guess, I'd say 4 to 5 miles.
Really?
This is a 10-mile track. Obviously, most of these guys are stopping every lap for roll-offs, and roll-offs, if used sparingly, you can get upwards of 200 pulls out of them.
Wow. That's a lot. So I can see where, and you say Walker was going through those on about a half a lap there yesterday.
I think there was a few laps where he made it all the way through the lap, but a number of times he said he was only able to make it to about the 5 or the 6 mile marker. Wow. And by the time he got to the 7 up here on top, he was having to pick up goggles if Mark Notman, his mechanic, had him. And if not, he'd get him when he came to the pits. So
well, leaders should be coming through the finish line about any time, Johnny, according to my calculations here. This might be one of them now.
I think that shadow right there in the clouds is Jordan Ashburn. He's a ghost racer. So folks at home, if you're checking this out, we understand obviously these aren't ideal viewing conditions, but this is exactly what it looks like here at the track. So, it's the camera doing it not quite justice in some sections. It looks like it's a little worse than it actually is. I mean, you can see roughly, let's say, 100 feet. And here comes Jordan Ashburn, no goggles on this time, so I'm sure he's going to be making a stop in the AmPro Yamaha pits here on VP Fuels Pro Row, and I hear what I believe to be a Husky 350 revving in the background, so I think Thad Duvall on the chase. We'll have to wait and see what the split is. Thad now working his way around the corner, I believe, and there he is, so I think that gap might have closed down just a little bit. Oh, nope, that's not Thad. We can't even tell because of the fact that they're riding out of the fog. Ashburn with a fresh set of goggles. He pulls out of the pits. I didn't see if he fueled. Now there is Thad Duvall checking in there in the second place spot. His transponder did not register. Wow. There it is.
37 seconds.
37 seconds. So he's given up about 5 seconds to Jordan, but those two running the same pace. Now bear in mind, we did see Thad dump it in the 5 mile marker mud hole there, and the pine trees lose a little bit of time. So it's possible that he is closing the gap, but and now we see Grant Baylor, again, no goggles in, working his way through the finish line, and he is just 17 seconds back of Duvall. So our top three, all about 47 seconds separating the three of them. Now we see the 4th place ride of Ryan Sipes, no goggles on, hanging on his arm. He's going to make a quick stop here in his pits. There we see Grant Baylor coming to a stop.
No
Looks
gas
like
there.
Corey McDonald put some fresh 100% goggles on him there, and he's on the gas and off in chase of Duvall.
Ryan Sipes checking in 15.5 seconds down now in the number 4 spot as he's trying to lay chase to Baylor. Looking at lap times right now, we'll sort them out. 26:29, a rather impressive lap time. And you were talking about possibility of Thad Duvall maybe closing up that gap. Get this, we saw him take it down. That was probably 5 seconds or better spent there. He turned to 26:32, so I have to tend to agree with you. Duvall maybe just a little bit faster aside from the mistake that he made there on that lap if you were to take that away. Grant Baylor in 3rd, Ryan Sipes 4th. Stu Baylor, last time around he was 5th. We saw that he had gotten overtaken by Andrew DeLong. DeLong checks in now in the number 5 spot, 27 seconds down with Stu Baylor, another 13 seconds down in 6th. There's Josh Strang, 1.5 seconds behind Stu Baylor. Back over in the pits, looks like Baylor, Stu.
Strang makes the pass on Baylor there. Baylor stopping for fuel, getting his eyes wiped, so there goes Strang by. So that's going to move Strang up at least 1 spot. Now we see at the finish line, it looks like Chris Bach checking in. It's a pretty long pit stop for Stu Baylor there. He loses 2 positions for sure. And it doesn't look like he'll lose any more at that point. So that's going to drop Baylor back from, looks like the 6th place spot back to at least 8th. Looks like we had Strang and Milner both passing him there in the pits.
So here after 2 laps complete, 53.5 minutes into this race, we see Chris Bach getting some fresh goggles down there in the pits. He's off and rolling now. It is Jordan Ashburn, Thad Duvall, Grant Baylor, Ryan Sipes, Andrew DeLong, your top 5. Stu Baylor in 6th, Josh Strang is 7th. Now 6th as he's gotten around Baylor. I believe that Daniel Milner may have gotten around as well. But then that would have been 8th. Chris Bach is 9th. Tegan Temple, your XC2 Pro Lights rider, was leading the class and running 10th overall. At the end of lap 1 here, at the end of lap 2, Nick Davis has taken over the lead, and he now runs 8th place overall. Jason Thomas, the 17, is 10th place overall and 2nd in class. And with that, Tegan Temple drops back to the number 3 position. As we're joined now in studio here by Megawatt Matt Watson. Megawatt, what's going on, bro?
Hey, Rodney, interesting situation down in the pits right now. As you know, visibility is the talk of the day right now. And as Johnny mentioned, with tear-offs and roll-offs, everybody's making their own choice. You're going to stop twice as much today, no doubt about it. One thing I'm noticing down here on pit row, when these guys are stopping twice as often, well, we got twice as much traffic down there, and with this fog, I want to tell you, there is a traffic jam like you wouldn't believe. There are spotters down there on pit row looking, giving the riders the signal when it's safe to pull out of the pits. So not only are we doing twice as many stops, but you know what? You can't see any better on Pro Row than you can right out here, what you're looking at home. So it's an amazing set of situations down here. We got all kinds of people assisting with gloves and goggles.
Yeah, that's crazy, Megawatt, and interesting fact too. I mean, it brings a whole new element to it, but it's good that the teams are recognizing that, and they're all actually, I think, kind of working together as far as trying to ensure the safety there on Pro Row. But as we can see, the visibility not as bad as it could be, as it is in some places, but still right there, that distance coming out of that turn, it's really hard to see. So got some relays going. There's Mike Wachowski checking into the FMF KTM pits. He's the only rider underneath that FMF pit this weekend, as obviously the absence of Charlie Mullins, the absence now also of Caleb Russell, since he's wrapped up the championship and got the injury and got the new baby and everything. So Mike's in there all by himself. I said,
a little extra square footage.
Yeah, I said something about, wow, man, this is pretty sweet. You got the whole thing. He said, well, he goes, I think it was more for Casey than me. Talking about Casey Martinez. I said, hey, oh, come on.
Hey, let me tell you the flip side to that situation down there on the pit road. That dirt is amazing, Rodney.
Oh,
the conditions. I was just down by the start, as you know, worked my way back up through. the topsoil, the conditions, the grass down there, absolutely amazing. So without the fog, I'm telling you, this would be probably some prime conditions out there.
Yeah, the track, the main lines on the track have, and you can see that a lot out there are really well-defined, lined in, a lot of tackiness. Now, there is a lot of slick stuff that we've seen also with the roots and the rocks, but the soil itself is, like you say, starting to be perfect. And in the grand scheme of things, as foggy as it is, as windy as it's been, and it's no wind blowing right now. This is the first time all weekend there's been no wind blowing. But,
Very true.
there wasn't a lot of rain. There could have been a whole lot more rain. It was more mist and drizzle than anything. Just the surface, I mean, we noted that there was some dust kicking up in a couple of places
Absolutely.
out there. So there's just basically the crust of the dirt is what's wet, and it's really dry underneath.
Rodney, Johnny and I talked earlier. When you make a French drain or when you build a drain around a house, what do? You fill it with gravel, you fill it with rock. And in between the large rocks out here, guess what we have? We have small rocks called gravel.
Yep.
And a lot of drainage is taking place on the slopes. The flat spot is where we are.
Yep.
We're up here on top of the mountain. So when you get down in the woods and start mile marker 3, 4, or 5, man, things are running downhill. And we noticed that even the big mud hole, it's only got 2, 3, 4 inches of water in it. Top's not even covering the rim on the knobby. So not a lot of standing water, and as we get through the day, you're going to have more and more situations where you're kicking up that dry dirt because it's only 3 inches down. But Rodney, it's so deceptive because of the drizzle and the fog.
Yeah, exactly. And long as conditions stay the way they are right now, it ought to be very interesting to see what it'll be like at the end of 3 hours as we approach the 1 hour mark right now. 58 minutes into this race, at 2 laps down, it is Ashburn, Duval, Grant Baylor, Sipes, the long 1, 2, and 3.
An absolute slow and go. I'm not sure who that was, Rodney, but that rider did not even stop. That was amazing. I haven't seen that too many times. He threw his goggles about 20 yards before. It looked like his mom or his girlfriend literally slid the goggles over the visor. The guy never put his feet down or took his hands off the bars. Amazing.
That might have been Scotty Grills. I'm not sure, but we've seen him in there pitting a lap ago, I believe, at the end of the first lap. We're going on lap number 3 right now as we scan down and check out some of the situation that is unfolding here. We always talk about the top amateurs, and now's a good time to start looking at this. Looks like we're going to have a pretty good top amateur battle. Wow. Brian Gunther, I don't know if that's the same Brian that is from right here in PA. From years ago, his dad was an airline pilot, and they used to race all the time. And but if that's Brian, he's moved to Brunswick, Georgia, it looks like. But he is 258 class leader. He had only a 2-second lead over Mason Atherton. They're running 33rd and 34th. But the guy in the Open A class with the advantage in the top amateur position right now is that of the 379 of Dual Murphy. He's 31st place. He's out of Huntington, Indiana. Looking at elapsed time right now, 26.50. He had about a 30-second lead over
What class is he in, Rodney?
He's Open A.
Open A.
Yeah. So we got the Open A and the 250A going at it, and good to see the name Brian Gunther back with us. And whether or not that's the same guy, still brings back some good memories for me. That's
Absolutely.
For sure.
As soon as you mentioned that, I recognize the name. Hey, we're looking at mile marker 7 now on the monitor in front of us. So much different than it is right here on top of the mountain, Rodney. Actually, a little more visibility. You're going to see about maybe 50 to 100 yards down there. And as this corner develops, there is dust coming out of that berm right there.
Oh, very beautiful. And there's some of the rocks that we can see some of the big cobblestone type rocks being uncovered there and unearthed. And there is that dry dirt. Look, you can see it kicking up right there. It's not the highest quality shot we've seen it coming in and out. But now, if you take a look at that right there where those front wheels and there's plenty of, it's getting down in there, so pretty interesting, the consistencies of this soil, and I'm sure it's keeping the racing very interesting out here for these guys. A nice shot of the Infab and Pro Yamaha pits.
With today's actual conditions, Rodney, more so than the rocks, as a rider, I would be concerned with the exposed roots. They are extremely slick. Man, the bark's worn off of those things. They've been hammered by the quads, the youth bikes, the amateur bikes this morning, and those things are running all directions. They're getting exposed from all angles, and I would be more concerned with that than the rocks right now as a rider.
Yeah, I believe you're right. It's an hour and 1 minute now into this Mountain Ridge GNCC. Working on lap number 3. Jordy Ashburn continues to lead. Thad Duvall, Grant Baylor, Ryan Sipes, and Andrew DeLong. GNCC Live continues after this.
The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pools per side. Durability in the toughest conditions.
And welcome back to Mountain Ridge GNCC here from Junction City, Pennsylvania. Somerset is what a lot of folks call it.
Central City, Berlin.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of Berlin, Snyder's of Berlin, a potato chip company. I want to say thanks to those guys for sending down the tater chips. Man, those are some of the crispest, best potato chips I've eaten in my life.
My favorite barbecue chip in the world.
Man, I remember
Berlin. Grew up on them.
Me too. I remember my grandmother lived down in Wayne County, West Virginia, my grandparents, and that was one thing they always had to look forward to was the Snyder's of Berlin potato chips, man.
Hey, way before there was chips in a can, there was Snyder's of Berlin, dude. I'll tell you that right now.
They're still as fresh as they ever were.
Nothing better with a bologna sandwich.
That's for sure. And, big long day of racing. We're looking out. It looks like it's still early morning out here. It started out early this morning just like this when the youth race took off this morning at 8 o'clock. What a great battle we saw there. We've seen a lot of different things take place throughout the course of the 2015 season. But we saw Jesse Ansley take off to the hole shot out there earlier today. Timmy Steiner was right behind him, and I got to talk to Timmy after that. He and Ansley battled all day long. Timmy actually got out front a couple of times. But in the end, Jesse Ansley was able to pull out the win, and we had a chance to catch up with him after today's youth race.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the RacerTV coverage of the 2015 CarMate Mountain Ridge GNCC. We're here with our youth winner this morning, overall winner, Jesse Ansley. Jesse, fog, drizzle, mud, rocks, man, all kinds of conditions to deal with out here today, but another win for you in the number 9 machine.
Yeah, today started off great, got the hole shot, took the first lap, tried to get a little lead, and a little bit harder to run with someone when you can't see them. So just try to get as big as lead as I could, but stay safe on the first lap. And then I nodded my head to my grandpa, and that's when I put my head down, just started charging as hard as I could, and just push the bike as hard as it will go when the conditions weren't so bad. And then later in the race, I kind of held back a little bit, saved my brakes. My goggles, I lasted about till the 2-lap part, and then my rolls gave up. So I had to ride the last 2 laps without any goggles, but conditions were great. I liked it.
So the win here today came down to equipment preservation and race management.
Yeah, I mean, you always have to have a good bike, good bike prep, goggles, and my whole team's helped me with that, so I couldn't thank them enough.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on a win here today at the Mountain Ridge GNCC.
Thank you.
Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thanks a lot, Meg. I don't know how you do that, man, but you're a magician. You were over there, now you're over here. How you keep jumping back?
I was a ventriloquist in an earlier life. I can throw my voice, and
you're throwing more than your voice right there. You're throwing your whole body over there. But Jesse Ansley, I got to tip my hat to the young guy. A great racer, and I think it's equally great a videographer, man. I've never seen anybody as
amazing.
Amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, if you haven't followed this guy's stuff on Facebook or whatever, man, check out some of the videography work that this guy does, man. Unbelievable.
He
14 years
races
old.
that youth race in the morning, and then he grabs a camera and goes out and films these afternoon races and puts together some really cool stuff. So
kids are definitely thinking ahead, man. So after his pro racing career, man, he's going to be one of the best cameramen in the business, no doubt about it.
He may be a RacerTV producer someday, man. He may take this all new levels and experiences as far as.
Hey, I'm going to go pull some chores. We're going to let Johnny back in the seat for a minute, and I'll catch up with you guys in just a little bit.
All righty, sounds good. And as we check in with the situation, our leaders are due in here in about 10, 11 minutes or so. A couple of historical facts to bring to you. One of those being the fact that this race was first ran back in 2007, was the inaugural running of this particular event here at Mountain Ridge. It's also known as Somerset to the GNCC faithful, and it's a very successful trails resort here in western Pennsylvania, located not too far from Pittsburgh. As we all know, it's very well noted for rocks and things like that. And also, the first time that we came here back in 2007, Barry Hawk won the inaugural race on the two-wheel side of things, finished on the podium here 3 different times throughout the course of his career, all the way through 2011. I believe the last time he raced here was, what was it, been 2010. He took 3rd overall. That was his last season of racing. He took 3rd overall here in 2010. We raced it one more time in 11. We took 12 and 13 off, came back last year, and was a whole different scenario there where I believe Caleb won here last year, did he not?
Yeah, Caleb Russell, and as we mentioned earlier, actually had to battle Jordan Ashburn the whole way for it. Jordan Ashburn got out front early, led this race over 2 hours, led it through the final fuel stop, and in fact at points even charged back after Caleb Russell. Once Caleb Russell did wrestle the lead away from him, got the lead back, and all the way up until the white flag, it was a battle. Caleb was able to stretch it out just a little bit on that final lap of racing, but it was a battle for sure.
And one other note of interest to point out, Grant Baylor, who was XC2 Lights Pro Lights class champion last year, actually was racing XC2 Pro Lights. He finished second overall, was able to edge out Jordan Ashburn on adjusted time there last year, so he actually got credit for second overall, even though Jordan had such a spectacular race. So if you think about it, seeing both Grant Baylor and Jordan Ashburn there in the front of the pack early is and was kind of, I think, exciting if you have to be looking at it from a historical standpoint, because both have seemed to do well here in the past.
Yeah, absolutely, Rodney. And, you know, that's something, honestly, that I had forgotten about. But now that you mentioned it, I seem to remember the KTM guys giving Caleb Russell a pit board late in the last lap and actually leaning out through the final corners saying, hey, man, you need to push it all the way to the finish, because I don't know exactly what the gap was, but if I'm not mistaken, it was very close that Grant Baylor, maybe not in the final few miles because they let Caleb know, but when Caleb did get the lead and pulled a little bit out on Jordan Ashburn, Grant Baylor was actually closing in on him on corrected time. So as you pointed out, Jordan Ashburn and Grant Baylor both riding phenomenal here last year and starting it off just the same way, both being inside the top three. And Thad Duvall, you can certainly never count him out in any race. Bad Thad is a bad dude. But in conditions like this, the rocks, the mud, the slick conditions, it seems like Thad just grabs an extra gear, a little bit extra confidence, a little bit extra swagger.
Dude,
and that's dangerous when you've got somebody as talented as Thad Duvall.
Yeah, and he's been grabbing that a lot lately, regardless of the conditions. I got to say that Thad Duvall, you know, we saw that greatness out of him as a youth and moving up through the ranks and so forth, and he kind of hit that proverbial wall, so to speak, in the XC1 Pro class, man. But I think he's finally matured, and I think things are finally starting to fall in place for him, and we're starting to see him. There's Ashburn making his way around now here at the 7-mile marker, continuing to hold down the lead.
And notice that, Rodney, the 7-mile marker, Jordan Ashburn coming through, no goggles. Look at this. Thad Duvall has closed the gap up. He's also got no goggles on, but that surely was not 37-second, Rodney.
That was,
I don't know if that was 10.
I think it was right around 10. I was looking at, he came through at the 40 and went by that tree, and right about the 50 mark was when Thad Duvall went through. So, yeah, it's to within 10 seconds now, and I don't think it has anything to do necessarily with Jordan Ashburn slowing down. I think what we were pointing out and looking at there at the conclusion of lap 2 heading into lap 3, Duvall was really working and a man on a mission, and it may not have reflected in that second lap time, but I think it will here in lap 3's lap time.
And look at the gap now that they've pulled on our third place rider. As we last saw was Grant Baylor, Ryan Sipes also close there, and Andrew DeLong. Oh, those guys real close together there. So any one of these guys could come popping out of this fog next, and it looks like it is Grant Baylor, goggles on his left arm. So look at this. All these guys, no goggles, all three of our top three at the 7-mile marker, and all three of these guys stopped and got fresh goggles in the pits just 7 miles ago. So we keep talking about vision. Obviously, as you're watching on screen, vision is a problem for our cameras. Vision is a problem for us to call the racing action. But, man, what a big problem it's been for these guys so far. In just an hour and 10 minutes, these guys are through second, third, some of these guys on their 4th pair of goggles already.
Right, and I think it's a matter of adjustment. I mean, I think these guys can see well enough out there, but they having to make some adjustments to be able to see, and hence taking the goggles off, especially for those front-running guys out there, might be what it's going to take to make that happen.
Yeah, you know, it's tough. Not only do they have to deal with the obviously the moisture, as we talked about, these basically clouds or fog that we're riding in, it'll stick to the goggle lens. It's no different than roost. You have to pull the roll-offs, you have to pull the tear-offs so you can see. But there's also the fogging issue. You know, with the temperatures being as cold as they are and the riders' faces being as warm as they are, it creates condensation on the inside of the goggle lens. Now we see, oh, that's Josh Strang working his way through, so it looks like he's moved. No, so that we've got Josh Strang, and we're waiting to see Ryan Sipes. There's Andrew DeLong. So we've lost our 4th place rider of Ryan Sipes. There's Daniel Milner, so he's hanging right in with that train. It looks like we have lost Ryan Sipes, at least for the time being. There's Grant Baylor, and we see a lapped rider there. And that may have been Sipes that just went through the last spike that we just caught a glimpse of.
Wow.
So Sipes has dropped at least 4 positions, it looks like.
Well, we were talking about Thad Duvall there just a moment ago, Johnny. You know, Thad Duvall has finished top 5 every round this season except for 2 that he scored no points in. Duvall has also finished on the podiums 6 times here in 2015, and there's only been 3 different riders that win this year, Bach, Strang, and Caleb Russell. We could have a 4th winner here today, and the way that Thad Duvall is riding, he could be that 4th one. Another interesting fact about Thad Duvall is he's only 3 points out of 2nd in the championship, and so far, this is his best season to date.
Absolutely. And there is Nick Davis, our leader in the XC2 class. Again, no goggles. We can't stress this enough because it is such a factor today with the way these guys are making the decisions, and there's Jason Thomas in 2nd. So those guys, again, maybe a little bit more than a piece of paper between them, but certainly still. And now those guys have both worked their way around Chris Bach, who looks to be really struggling out there today with the conditions. I know I stopped in when I stepped out here for a minute and spoke with the guys in the JCR pits. They said Chris was really just having some issues, wasn't able to see, and again, it just keeps coming back to that vision. So we'll have to see if he can get things squared away and try and make a charge back towards that top 5. Ricky Russell now our 3rd place rider in XC2. So now we've had our top 3 in XC2 work their way past at the 7-mile marker.
About 3.5 minutes before we expect to see Jordan Ashburn and Thad Duvall make their way into the finish line region for the conclusion of lap number 3 here. Grant Baylor running another 17 seconds back behind them. Now remember, a lap ago, Thad Duvall was 37.5 seconds behind Jordan Ashburn. At last check, when we saw them there at the 7-mile marker here, he was about 10 seconds. So he has gained nearly 30 seconds in this one lap of racing. Is it the intensity at which Duvall is racing at, or has Ashburn slowed it down a little bit here near the midway point?
Well, judging by the gap that they pulled out on our 3rd place rider, Grant Baylor, I got to believe that those two have stepped it up. You know, that gap when we last saw was somewhere in the neighborhood of 40-something seconds, and Duvall's knocked it down to less than 10 or right around 10, and it sure seemed like it was more than 30 seconds back to Grant Baylor there in the 3rd place spot. So I got to believe that those two have either kept the same pace or even possibly picked it up a little bit, which means that in order for Thad Duvall to close that gap, that means he has to really been on the hammer here on this lap 3 late or midway through this lap.
An hour and 14.5 minutes, working on an hour 15 now as we sit, wait patiently here at the 7-mile marker. Leaders due in about 2.5 minutes near the 10-mile marker at the finish line. So it was a few moments ago since we last saw the XC1 Pro Class leaders make their way through here. And like we say, it shouldn't be long before we see them at the finish. Looking at some of my notes here, Johnny, a Josh Strang note. The way I've got this figured, Josh Strang has finished on the podium all but one race that he has competed in this season. I think he got all seconds except for one 4th place finish. Now, he has missed 4 rounds, and I think he's somewhere back in about 6th place. Actually, no, he's 5th place in points right now, only about 5 points ahead of Ryan Sipes. And with a good, strong ride here today, if he can pull that out, might be able to extend that a little bit more and inch his way up in the ranks a little. But, man, you look at a Baylor, Duvall, Bach, Strang, any one of those guys, and all those guys, they're all very tough competitors and are all going to fight for those positions, not only in the race but the championship to the bitter end.
Yeah, you know, these guys are obviously, as the season winds down, points become something that everybody's thinking in the back of their mind. A lot of guys here have a chance to finish the season in the top 3 overall, top 4 overall. You know, there's a lot of guys there real close in points. So these guys are pushing not only for individual finishes on the day, but also obviously to put themselves in the best position to have the best finish that they can for the season, to potentially set themselves up for a better ride or keep their current ride going forward.
Well, less than a minute now before leaders should be checking in. We're waiting on Jordan Ashburn and Thad Duvall at that pace that we were watching, the 27 seconds he'd made up in 7 miles of racing. By mile 10, he should be probably close to the rear wheel of Jordan Ashburn. If these guys are not in a heated battle, I will be somewhat shocked and surprised. But at the same time...
Oh, Rodney, I hear him. I can't see him, but I can hear him. I can tell by the revs that they're working their way through the chicanes. And I hear, sure sounds like they're real close together. I hear the low, slow groan of a Yamaha 450, and I hear the revs of a Husky FC350. There is Jordan Ashburn. That is not Thad Duvall directly on his rear wheel, but we'll wait and see. Looks like 2 lappers there behind him. I can hear what appears to be a little bit higher pitch, maybe 350 again. Can't see more than about 100 feet away, but I can hear what I believe to be Thad Duvall working his way through. It appears Jordan Ashburn has pulled it out a little bit, though. In the chicanes, it's kind of hard to tell exactly where these guys are at, but again, we're still hearing that machine of what we believe to be Thad Duvall working his way through those chicanes, but we cannot see him. Now I hear another 450. Grant Baylor, I'm guessing that is in the finish line chicane somewhere in that fog. Grant Baylor is working his way through. So now Jordan Ashburn has really stretched out this lead, and I'm hearing another. I can't believe we're doing this by sound, but we're hearing the low, slow groan of another 450. I think we might have lost Thad Duvall as our second place rider, and there is, oh, that is actually Ashburn checking in, and Thad Duvall on his rear wheel. The guy that we saw before wasn't even Ashburn.
I was going to say, I've even restarted the computer. I thought something happened to the scoring computer.
I could have sworn that was Jordan Ashburn. So Jordan Ashburn now checking in, Thad Duvall on his rear wheels.
I kept hitting refresh. This thing's not resetting, but Ashburn is in. 1.4 seconds behind him was bad Thad Duvall. You had a good race going there, Johnny.
In my mind, they were really battling, and then it turned out they actually were. It was just the battle for the lead, not the battle for second that I thought it was. So Jordan Ashburn with the lead, 1.4 seconds back to Thad Duvall. We'll have to see if these guys do make a stop here in the BP Fuels Pro Row. Again, visibility such an issue. It's affecting our broadcasting here, but these guys nonetheless, whether they can see it very far or not, they can see each other. So what they can see is the guy in front of them. If you're Thad Duvall right now, now we see Grant Baylor hard on the gas, working his way through the finish line. Again, goggles around his arm. These guys are basically using their goggles as a purse here today. Is this? Yep, this is a lap rider working his way through.
Let's listen to these lap times. Listen to these lap times. Jordan Ashburn, this past time around in lap number 3, turned a 27:14. Thad Duvall, a 26:38. Grant Baylor, a 27:17. So looking at that right now, Thad turned more than a 30-second faster lap than both the first and third place riders, and that is pretty interesting. The gap now between second and third place position opens up to a whopping 57 seconds back to Grant Baylor now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, that's roundabout what it was last lap. Obviously, with Baylor only giving up actually 3 seconds to Jordan Ashburn on that lap. But it was Thad Duvall, the man on the mission, who when we had last seen him was 17 seconds behind Grant Baylor. Now he's only 1.4 seconds behind Jordan Ashburn. Thad Duvall hard on the gas, and, man, he's going to be tough to stop today. If he can get around Jordan Ashburn better hang on, or he's going to lose sight of Thad quick. And not just because he's going fast, but he could be 30 feet in front of him, and he won't be able to see him.
Ryan Sipes was 4th last time around. As we anticipated, we believe that he may have disappeared out of the ranks for a few moments. There's Josh Strang checking in now in the number 4 spot. A 27:38 lap time for him, a full minute slower than that of Thad Duvall, just an FYI for you. Strang in 4th. It is Andrew DeLong now in the number 5 spot. He is 5 seconds off the pace of Strang. Daniel Milner is now up to the number 6 spot. Stu Baylor drops to 7th. He's only 7 seconds back, but he turned to 27:52. So I think that the recent injuries by Stu Baylor are starting to take their toll here as we near the halfway point of this race. And still no sign of the birthday boy of Ryan Sipes. And you know, a lot of folks wondering what Sipes is going to be able to accomplish here in these rocks of Mountain Ridge ATV Resort. You know, some were saying, well, I expect Ryan Sipes he could have gone and killed him today.
Here's Nick Davis, our XC2 leader, checking in. So he's worked his way around Ryan Sipes.
4th place
and
overall.
And just 2 seconds behind him is Jason Thomas. They're still together. They battle each other even through the fog. Neither rain nor sleet nor fog will stop Jason Thomas and Jason Thomas and Nick Davis from battling each other here at the Mountain Ridge GNCC.
Wow. So Thomas, actually 5.9 seconds separate the two, but it is 4th place for Nick Davis right now. Jason Thomas back in the number 6 spot, but like you say, they are very close together and highly contested. Looks like we're looking at a 7-lap race, Johnny Gallagher, according to timing and scoring right now, as we're an hour and almost 22 minutes into this race. Ashburn, Duvall, Baylor, Davis, Strang, your top 5.
Rodney, we did lose Ryan Sipes momentarily, but he's about to check in. He's been passed by Chris Bach and has the 212 of Ricky Russell hot on his heels, the 3rd place in that XT2 class. So Sipes lost quite a bit of time that lap. Again, don't know if that's vision related. There are a few mud holes out there, but you know, this is crazy. I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, you know, a lot of folks tend to think that maybe Ryan, a lot of folks weren't expecting a lot out of Ryan here in the rocks of Pennsylvania. However, I got to tend to disagree, man. Anytime that the Ryan here lately throws his leg over a bike, man, I think he's a contender and a competitor. Why not today? I don't know. Maybe it's his birthday and he's thinking more about celebrating. I don't know what it is, but regardless, he's still putting together a fairly decent ride. He's top 10 in the XC1 Pro class, and the day's still early. We haven't even reached technically the halfway point on the clock, but I guess you could say we are nearing the halfway point there in laps with 7-lap racing. We're working on lap number 4 right now.
Yeah, you know, with this race now, 1 hour and 23 minutes in, 4 laps complete, 3 laps to go. You know, it's obviously things are heating up for that lead battle. You know, it's been a while since we've seen 2 riders that close together battling. You know, we've seen obviously at the last race we saw Ryan Sipes and Josh Strang going at it for the lead throughout much of the race, and then Thad Duvall actually working his way up in there to wrestle that 2nd place spot away at several points throughout the race. So for these guys to be this close together, 1.4 seconds, considering the conditions, considering the weather, considering how technical this track is right now, it really shows how hard these guys are pushing.
I'm just looking down through and scanning down through the results. And watching for our top amateur here, we had an Open A rider that was in contention there a lap ago, but right now as we look at it, looks like Brian Gunther and Mason Atherton, your 250A class racers, are about 3.5 seconds apart, and they are now running 27th and 28th overall and racing for that top amateur honor here at the Mountain Ridge GNCC. An hour and 24 and a half minutes into this round 11 of Mountain Ridge GNCC, and GNCC Live will continue after this.
The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pools per side. Durability in the toughest conditions. Scott's Performance, the only steering dampener with 21 Baja 1000 overall victories, introduces the new Scott's rubber submount. Easy to install at less than an hour in most cases, it features adjustable on-the-fly dampening to help reduce arm pump and fatigue. Come see what 25 years of experience building the best stabilizer can do at scottsonline.com.
And welcome back here to GNCC Live on RacerTV.com. Rodney Tomlin along with Johnny Gallagher and Megawatt Matt Watson out and about in the oblivion of all this deep, dark fog that we're seeing up here on the hill. And Jason Hooper, our producer, just falling asleep there. No, he's just giving you a hard time. Jason, in his ear, he said, well, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. We're just working on some stuff. But no, we know that these guys are working hard in there, and love what we've been able to accomplish so far. You know, I was talking with Randy Hawkins earlier today in the 10 o'clock race, what the talents of RacerTV has been able to do with the group of individuals we got, and being able to do things now, and we're pioneering a new technology, so to speak, and laying the groundwork for something even bigger in the future, I think, here.
Absolutely, Rodney. And, you know, think of it this way. If you go back even 10 years, let alone 20 years, think what GNCC Racing was, and think about how you got your news as a GNCC Racing fan as to who won. You know, back in the day, you had to wait until Cycle News came out, which oftentimes was a week, sometimes 2 weeks later, to read about who won the race. Not only your favorite pro rider, but your amateur classes. You know, if it was a family member, you could give them a call. But other than that, you were just kind of guessing. Where now, in today's day and age, with RacerTV and GNCC Live, you can sit at home on the comfort of your couch with your nice warm soup in front of you on a cold day like today, and you can watch all the action unfold right from your TV screen or your iPad or whatever it is. And it's great. You can watch your favorite rider. You can watch live timing, you know, and all the things that have evolved throughout the last 10 years, from the live timing to having the website where you can look their race results up immediately following the race. It's great. You know, it really is, as whether you're a casual observer or very, very intricately involved fan or team member, you know, they're getting their news right from as it's happening. And that is the beauty of the interwebs today.
The interwebs. I like how you put that. Well, at the 5-mile marker, we're waiting on our leaders to come through here now, Johnny, as we are probably, nearing about the halfway point of this. These lap times somewhere 26, 27 minutes, a little over 27 for Jordy Ashburn, and 26:38 there for Thad Duvall. Let's go ahead and take a quick look. Johnny, you can watch the watch things here, and if we see our leaders come through, we'll let you know. The Midstate Chevy Midway Report. I want to say thanks to Midstate Chevrolet, located in the heart of West Virginia, off the Flatwood exits there off I-79. And taking a look at the overall right now, it is Ashburn, Duvall, Grant Baylor, Nick Davis, your XC2 Pro Lights class leader in 4th place. Josh Strang is up to 5th, 4th in class. Jason Thomas 6th overall, 2nd in the XC2 Pro Lights. Andrew DeLong runs 7th. Daniel Milner 8th. Stu Baylor has dropped to 9th now. Ricky Russell 3rd, the XC2 Pro Lights, rounds out the top 10. Going now to the XC1 Pro Class itself. Again, it's Ashburn, Duvall, Baylor, Strang. As we told you, in 4th. DeLong is 5th. Milner is 6th. Stu Baylor is 7th in the class. Chris Bach is 8th in class. 9th in class, the 264 of Ryan Sipes. Corey Buttrick back up to the front row here for the 2nd race this season. Rounds out the top 10 on his beta out of Logan, Ohio. Back in the XC2 Pro Lights class, Nick Davis, Jason Thomas, Ricky Russell, as we told you, running 1, 2, and 3. There's only 6 seconds separating 1st and 2nd there. 51 seconds back to Russell in the number 3 position. Tegan Temple, the number 525, running in 4th. Trevor Bollinger, kind of expected possibly little bigger things out of him today. The 118 from Morganton, North Carolina, rounds out the top 5. Still early, though, here in the day. 6th place, the 410, Benjamin Kelly out of Harwinton, Connecticut. 7th place, the 282 of Mike Wachowski out of North Liberty, Indiana. 8th place, the 18, Craig DeLong from Morgantown, Pennsylvania. 9th place, the 123 of Austin Lee out of Bedford, Indiana, rounding out the top 10. The 38 of Mike McGinnis out of Plume, PA. As we look to the Open A class, Dual Murphy is in now with 3 laps complete, a 29:47 lap time for that rider, as he had a 52-second lead over Orlando, Florida's Luke Parsons at the end of lap number 2. Parsons had then the advantage over 3rd place rider, the number 30 of Zach Hayes out of Sumter, South Carolina. 4th place, Josh Brown, the 640 out of Pittsburgh, PA, and Diego Rojas out of New Jersey rounded out your top 5 aboard the 362. Then the 419 of Dylan Rash was running 6th. 7th, Luke Ross 8th. The 59, Nathan Thornhill. Ben Parsons, the number 309th. And Andrew Boggs rounded out your top 10 in the Open A class. Mason Atherton now besting, it looks like, Brian Gunther. Gunther, the 787, was leading and running in top amateur position there at the end of lap number 2. But Atherton has now gotten around, and no sign as of yet of the 787 of Gunther. Looking for Gunther in 2nd. Vance Francis in the number 3 spot. Lloyd Leonard, the 906 in 4th. Hunter Neuwirth to round out the top 5. Then Sean Benhart, the 415 in 6th. Mark Horesco, the 412 in 7th. 824, Thorne Devlin in 8th. 9th place, 363, Nolan Seiper. Ryan Slopko rounded out your top 10 in that 250A class. 200A class, only 2 of the 200A riders have checked in with us so far. After 2, Clint Masters leading John Hugel by a 4-minute margin. 4-stroke A lights class, Jake Froman, the 862 from Linville, Indiana, only a 2.3-second lead over Josh Lee, the 100 out of Statesboro, Georgia. Tristan Lambert, who got the hole shot, man, he's a hole shot king a lot of times, it seems like. The 704 from Nelsonville, Ohio, on the Sports Cycles machine. 3rd, 42 of Michael Pillar out of Dover, Ohio. In fifth, then the 206 of Hunter Shelton out of Hartford, Tennessee. Then it's the 29 of Brady Myers in sixth. 738, Logan Papoul is seventh. Eighth place, the 421 Tyler Braniff out of Terre Alta, West Virginia. Ninth place, the 125 of Chris McManus from Morganton, North Carolina. Rounding out the top 10, Braxton McGee, the 45 from Boliville, North Carolina. Into the Junior A 25-plus class, AB class, Aaron Cox and Joseph McCarty 1 and 2. 4 minutes 41 seconds separating those two. Coxon out of Cumberland, West Virginia, with Mount Clair, West Virginia being home for McCarty. Eric Breitmeyer, another minute and 15 seconds back to the number 3 spot aboard the 718. The 411, Adam Clark out of Norton, Ohio is fourth. Jordan Overfield, the 263 from Morgantown, West Virginia, rounds out the top 5 of the Junior AB 25-plus class. To the Vet A 30-plus class, Garrett Culbertson leading that one out of North Carolina. Nathan Allring out of Cincinnati, Ohio, the 374 in second. 156, Brad Dumont out of Shelbyville, Indiana is third. Fourth place, 277, Jesse Arsenal out of Coventry, Connecticut. In fifth place, Joe Marsh, the 35 from Pittsburgh, PA. Then Eddie Lojak Jr., the 310 out of Tarentum, Pennsylvania. In sixth, seventh is James Steiner, the 86 is Big Jim Steiner. He is running seventh. Eighth is Mark McGrath, the 402 out of Wadsworth, Ohio. I want to make a singing remark, but I'm not going to. 74 of Joe Kessler out of Canton, Massachusetts. And the number 10 spot, the 366 of Fabian Barada out of Holly Springs, North Carolina. Paul Petrin, the 703 from Calgary, Canada. 2 minute 41 second lead over the 418 of Billy Schlag from Mechanicsville, Maryland. 372, Rob Hertz out of Brookhaven, PA is third. Fourth place, 47, Old Shotgun Sean Remington out of New Salem, PA. 133, James DeBerry is fifth out of Clarksburg. Rob Brown, 356 out of Drury, Massachusetts. And seventh is 452, Edgar Davis out of Tazewell, Virginia. Eighth place is the 457, Bob Bergman. Then we got ninth place, the 70 of Harry Englehart, Brett Turcella. 129 rounds out your top 10 senior A 40-plus class. Then it's the B class, Roman Phipps, the 229 out of Gray, Kentucky. Your leader, 290, Bill Zabendi out of Cabot, PA is second. 519, Ryan McManus from Nelsonville, Ohio is third. James Harshberger from Fairmont, West Virginia, the 617 in fourth. Fifth place, the 710 of George Schell out of Sure, West Virginia. Sixth place in 625, Michael Hall. Seventh place, Dustin Stanley, the 851. Eighth place, 615, Andrew Wilson. Ninth place, Juan Baladria. He's riding the 210 and the 275. But Josh Adkins rounds out again that top 10 in that open B class. 250 B class, Mike Miller. Brewer Crawley 1 and 2. 246 separating first and second. Miller out of Fairmont, West Virginia. Lexington, South Carolina, home to Brewer Crawley. Brian Klementowski out of Boston, New York, the 406 in third. Dustin Trey, 243 out of Maryland, is fourth. And fifth place, the 484 of Justin Murphy out of Morgantown, West Virginia. Kobe Becker, the 521, runs sixth. Seventh is the 351 Randy Roberts. Eighth, Cody Kleiss. Ninth place, the 400 Gregory Coffey. And Coleman Brinson rounds out the top 10 on the 458 machine. 200 B class, Zach Hugel out of Seneca, PA. The 105 leading the 240 of Cameron Sisk at 42 seconds. Sisk out of Morganton, North Carolina. 540, Caleb Williams out of Jefferson, PA is third. Then we got Colton Cupp out of Morgantown, West Virginia in fourth. 371, Adam Parker in New Kensington, Pennsylvania is fifth. Ian McElroy, the 360 is sixth. And the 376 in seventh is Justin McAleese. Four-stroke B lights class, Adam Hollenkamp out of Versailles, Kentucky, the 161 in the lead, a minute and 29 seconds over the 405. Mike Tetlow at 11 in Junction, Kentucky. Westminster, South Carolina, home to Trey Jefferson, the 283. He is third. There is Thad Duvall checking in at the 7-mile marker, Johnny Gallagher, and I believe we may have a new leader, it looks like.
Yes, that is the new leader. Thad Duvall has taken over the lead. Looks like Jordan Ashburn been dropped back to at least second place. We'll have to wait and see as he checks through here. I started the clock just a few seconds after Thad worked his way through our shot, so now we wait on the number 3 Am-Pro Yamaha of Jordan Ashburn. And Thad Duvall has really turned up the heat here. It might be cold outside, but it's sure warm when you're talking about Thad Duvall. He's just burning it here.
I told you he would be. I expected him by the 5-mile marker to have been caught up to him. And by my calculations and lap times in previous laps, he would be past him at this point, but not by this much. We're looking at nearly 40 seconds now 38 seconds, Johnny, to be exact, as we're still waiting on second place to check in here.
Yeah, this is crazy. You know, you almost have to think that with this kind of a gap, obviously Thad Duvall, we know last lap he ran about 35 seconds faster than Jordan Ashburn, and now we see Grant Baylor, which we believe that now is our second place rider, unless we've lost or unless we missed Jordan Ashburn, but I don't believe we did. I was looking and watching the screen the entire time while you were doing that Mid-State Chevy Midway report, and I did not see Jordan Ashburn, so it appears that he's dropped all the way back to at least third place spot from being up front battling with Thad Duvall. So Thad Duvall out front. Now it looks like Grant Baylor in the second place spot. He was right around a minute behind. I wasn't watching for him, so I didn't stop the clock, but we wait and see Jordan Ashburn. We're at over a minute and a half now since Thad Duvall has come through. Still no Jordan Ashburn, so we don't know if he's maybe gotten stuck or run into some issues here, but we'll wait and see whether it's Jordan Ashburn in third or the rider that was fourth, which was Josh Strang when we had last seen.
What a heartbreaker, no doubt about it, for Jordan Ashburn, as he was anticipating, I'm sure, a good ride here today, let alone possibility of a win, especially the way he was riding out early on here. I know that he was one of the front runners in the early part of this, nearly grabbing the whole shot, if not grabbing the whole shot out there. I think it was he and Grant Baylor quite possibly that were neck and neck for that battle, but regardless, Jordy got out front, man, and was looking like he was setting the blistering fast pace, one of the largest leads we've seen after the first lap at 32 seconds. But, man, the clinic that Thad Duvall's putting on riding these rocks here in Pennsylvania today, you know, he may have just been in awe of what took place. And
Rodney, look at the gap that these two have on everybody else. We know it was upwards of 45 seconds, or maybe it was a minute from Grant Baylor back, but we're several minutes now into waiting, and we're still waiting on our third place rider.
Wow, crazy. While we wait on that.
And there he is, Josh Strang now into the third place spot.
Wow. So I knew that I expected and anticipated some changes, but I got to hand it to Grant Baylor. He's still running strong, and you know what? He's at a point in this race now where things might start to click up, and we might start to see him start to push it a little bit, and that could be interesting. You know, we still might have a battle for first before it's all said and done, especially if that gets up there and thinks, wow, I got this big 40-second, 50-second lead now.
Nick Davis, physically fourth overall. Nick Davis is on the podium with corrected time right now.
Wow.
Nick Davis currently, I don't even need to see a clock to tell you that. Nick Davis definitely third overall on corrected time if all things staying. There is Daniel Milner. There's Ashburn. Ashburn has lost a ton of time.
Wow, ton of time in several positions now that we got that update. Finish your mid-states. Wow, so trying to think about the idea there of Nick Davis being in podium position. We're not a stranger to seeing that happen here at Mountain Ridge, that's for sure. As we look at the four-stroke B lights class quickly in the Mid-State Chevy report, Adam Hollenkamp, Michael Tetlow, Trey Jefferson, Trevor Eckes is your fourth place ride. Alex Ankrum rounding out the top five. Then Drew Bolton, Brendan Poling, Adam Lewis, Bolton B. Roth, and Austin Evans, your top 10. In the Vet B30 Plus class, Nick Wise, Tim Nethkin, Jeremy Dexter, 1, 2, and 3. Scott Dallin is fourth. Jared Hoffman in fifth. 6, Sean Moore. 7, Chris Levin. Larry Hopper in eighth. Glenn Haynes in ninth. And Gabriel Ramirez rounds out the top 10. And your senior B, Scott Campbell, Mark Proper, Devin Ferguson, your top 3. Troy Stoltz in fourth. Mark Atkins in fifth. Will Gribben in sixth. Leon Whitaker is seventh. Jeffrey, 547 in eighth. Gene Swidwood rounds out your top 10. And we got a report that Ash may be in the pits right now.
Yeah, actually getting a text here that Jordan Ashburn actually made a trip to the pits. So that certainly explains why he did, in fact, lose so much time. We don't know yet exactly why he was there or what took place, but he made a trip off of the track back to the pits for some type of service or to get something, and then went back out to the track. So that explains him dropping from leading back to when we saw him look like he was 7th or 8th. I believe 7th he was as they worked their way through here at the 7-mile marker. So unfortunate for Jordan Ashburn, but we'll see if we can get an update and see exactly what transpired there and see exactly why he had to leave the course. Now that's perfectly legal and within the rules of GNCC racing. He exited the course, went to the pits for some type of work to be done either to the machine or himself, and then went back out and re-entered the course where he left it. So therefore, he is still within this race, could potentially still battle himself back up to a podium position because he was so far out front. And now, well, he and Thad Duvall were so far out front, he's very much still in a battle for a potential podium position, less than a minute off the podium, but he's he's lost quite a bit of time from where he was at up there battling with Thad Duvall at the end of lap 3.
No doubt about that. And again, want to say thanks to Midstate Chevy for the Midway Report. They stack them deep, they sell them cheap. And we got things stacking up here. A great race starting to unfold before our very eyes here as Jordan Ashburn experiencing the problems. Duvall is up front. Grant Baylor in second now. Third place is Josh Strang. Physically fourth on the racetrack is Nick Davis. We anticipate and expect that he is actually running in podium overall contention right now from row number 2. So a lot of things taking place over the course of the last 30 minutes or so, Johnny. This has been a rather eventful lap number 4 here at the Mountain Ridge GNCC.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, with the new leader, with Thad Duvall, you know, we knew he was on the gas. We knew he was closing the gap. But now what we'll have to wait until after the race to find out was, did Thad Duvall pass Jordan Ashburn prior to Ashburn having whatever issue it was that caused him to have to exit the course, head to VP Fuels Pro Row for whatever it was that he was doing there. There is, it looks like Ryan Sipes has now just worked his way past, may have been right ahead of Trevor Bollinger there. So those guys now working their way past the 7-mile marker as we cut to the 10-mile marker here at the finish and wait. Thad Duvall should be checking in here just about any minute.
So we'll be waiting and watching as we look at computer suggested time, about 1 minute and 40 seconds. So within 2 minutes easily, Thad Duvall should be checking in. Last time around, FYI, at 26:38. Thank you very much. Megawatt on his way over to pit row, where there's a lot of good scoops taking place over there. He's going to be talking with folks over to find out what's going on with Ashburn. And also we're going to get a scoop on what's going on over there in the Thad Duvall pits as he is looking at his first win of 2015.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen Thad Duvall grab a win. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Rodney, and you may not know off the top of your head, but I almost want to say it was the Sparta, Kentucky, or I'm sorry, not Sparta. I'm going way back there. The Mammoth, Kentucky race in 2013, I believe may have been Thad Duvall's last win.
I think so. I think he's only got 2 wins to his credit, and that does sound about the right time frame now that you mentioned, and I think that is exactly it, actually.
And that was a mutter. That was an epic mutter there. That was possibly one of the worst conditions we've ever raced here in the GNCC racing. And as a point of fact there, is that, nope, not Thad coming through. We're looking at the fog, and we see some riders coming fast, so we never quite know who it is. I see some pit boards. I hear a screaming Maggie May, which is Thad's girlfriend, so I'm going to assume that's Thad Duvall, and it is. We could hear her scream over Thad Duvall's Husqvarna FC350. He stops, gets a drink bottle from one of his crew members. All this is happening on screen. You just can't see it.
27:08. So we'll call it 30 seconds slower lap time that time around for Thad Duvall, but still, as you said, to take the words right out of your mouth, an epic lead here at the end of lap number 4 for Thad Duvall.
I do hear Grant Baylor working his way through the fog, so it's going to be, I'm guessing he's still got 3 more turns and a straightaway there, so it's probably going to be about another 15, maybe 20 seconds until we see Grant Baylor actually crossing the finish line. So I think we're going to see upwards of a 30-second lead for Thad Duvall here.
Oh, easy. I think so. We had a 57-second lead between Grant Baylor and Jordan Ashburn between second and third.
And there is Grant Baylor as he checks in. We'll see what the lead is here.
All right, Baylor turned to 27:17 last time around. This time around, he turns a 26:58.
Wow. 46 seconds. He's actually closed the gap a little bit on Thad.
You know what? Baylor's going to make me eat my words. Remember what I said? He started out too strong to finish strong. Well, he's going to prove me wrong right here. And I'll eat those words. 46-second gap. It was 57 seconds. That was between second and third. And now it's 46 between first and second. So Baylor has certainly picked up the pace. He shaved that 10 seconds or so off, and he is looking very competitive here today. I believe Megawatt Matt Watson standing by over the Jordan Ashburn pits to give us an update on what's taking place over there. And maybe not. So who will wait? So right now we'll wait for that update coming in, I believe, from over there in the pro pits from Megawatt Matt Watson right now.
Well, as we wait and we watch for our third place rider of what we believe to be Josh Strang when we had last seen them, should be working his way towards the finish line here in the next minute or so. But the gap has really opened up. This is really a 2-horse race, at least right now, for the win. It's coming down to Thad Duvall leading. Grant Baylor chasing him down, made up exactly 10 seconds on him that lap. So at that rate, it would take him another almost 5 laps to make that happen, which with only 2 laps of racing remaining now, I'm sorry, 3 laps of racing remaining, that means that, you know, it's really going to be tough for these guys to potentially close that gap down. But again, with all the things that are going on out there, the mud holes, the conditions, anything can happen. So it's an exciting racing for the battle, and where the real battle is, I believe that is Josh Strang. Yes, it is, working his way through the final turn into the finish line. There he goes past our
1 minute, 58.9 seconds behind. Call it a minute and 59 seconds behind.
Look at this,
Baylor.
Jordan Ashburn up to the 4th place spot now. He takes a look to see what spot he's in. He actually turns around to look and see. He has passed Nick Davis. He's passed from when we saw him on camera.
Hey, guys.
He's passed. Oh, go ahead. Megawatt, I believe you got an update for us? All right, I think we're having some...
Hey, guys, we're down here in the pits right now, getting ready to have a critical moment. The Ashburn pits going a little crazy right now. They're pretty cool and calm and composed, but got several plans going on right now. So the pit board getting ready to go out. We're going to talk to Lucas in just 1 second here, you guys. The pit board's going out right now.
So Ashburn working his way through the VP Fuels Pro Row, as we heard Megawatt trying to get an update there. Things are happening right there in front of him, so he can check in with us in just a minute here and tell us exactly what it is that's transpiring around him. But one thing we do know is Jordan Ashburn dropped from the lead back to when we had seen him 7th place physically on the track. Now he's up to 4th and has reeled Josh Strang in and is basically right on the rear wheel of Josh Strang. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next time we see him, Jordan Ashburn is back in a podium position after leaving the track, going all the way to the pits, doing whatever it was that hopefully Megawatt's going to update us on here in a minute and find out exactly what all has transpired. So we're just as much as in the dark as everybody else. But one thing we do know for sure, Jordan Ashburn, a man on a mission right now.
Megawatt?
Hey, guys, we're not in the dark anymore. We're down here with Lucas. We're down here with Jordan's mechanic right now. He's going to let us know exactly what's going on. Jordan looked to be informed. The bike looked to be, he looked up to speed as he came by. Tell us what's happening.
His moose disintegrated and his tire came off the bead, so he had to pull in and swap a wheel out, and we got him back out there. He's running 4th now.
Well, I tell you what, disintegrator moose confident right now, back up to speed. So good luck to you guys.
Thank you.
There you have it. There's exactly what happened, you guys. Back to the studio.
All right, thanks a lot, Megawatt. And wow, pop the bead on the moose. They literally changed the tire. Now, I know he lost a lot of time, and you start looking at it, you start doing the math. That was almost 2.5, 3 minutes, probably working on 3 minutes that he lost. But when you think about the fact that he only lost 3.5 minutes or less than 4 minutes in changing the tire after having to leave the track, come back and make all those changes, that's pretty impressive right there, Johnny Gallagher.
That's incredible. You know, for him to have a 30:06 lap time when the fastest lap on the track was 26:58, so basically 27 minutes, give or take. So that means he left the track, got back to the pits, got that bike up on a stand, got that rear wheel off, slid that axle out, they made the change, did all of that inside, and got back to the course within 3 minutes. That's phenomenal. Says a lot about that team there. Those guys were ready to go. Probably had radioed information in that he was, in fact, coming in. They had that wheel ready. They got him back out there. And the fact that not only did they make it happen quick, Jordan kept the wits about him to know, hey, while we're in here, I need to prepare myself because pretty soon we're going to be heading back out to the course, and I need to make up some time because I want to get back into a podium position. Man, Jordan Ashburn, a man on a mission right now. We've said it so many times. Jordan likes the mud. Jordan likes Somerset. Jordan likes the Mountain Ridge, GNCC, and he's doing well here today.
That's right. He's man on a mission. He's got obviously some method to the madness, and you know that's pretty impressive. I know that the whole team over there working very hard under Randy Hawkins' guidance and direction, Johnny. And these guys, I think they smell and they sense the fact that Jordy could be looking at his first overall win here. So they're going the extra effort. They're going the extra mile to try to ensure that that possibility remains alive. And even though he's back in the number 4 spot, 5th place overall, with Nick Davis slipping in there in the XC2 Pro Lights, Jordan Ashburn still in contention to win this. He made up a lot of time in the early part. We've seen Thad Duvall do it. Who's to say that Ashburn can't do it here late in the race today?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he's certainly in contention for a podium, no question about that. Just a few seconds off of the back of Josh Strang, who is our 3rd place rider, although Nick Davis, on corrected time, is our 3rd place overall rider. Jordan Ashburn, just ahead of him means he actually needs to put physically 1 minute on Nick Davis to overtake that third-place overall position. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see Jordan Ashburn, again, battling back potentially for a podium. Rodney, I would love to see Jordan work his way back up there for a win, but I got to be honest with you. With 2 laps left remaining, he's got upwards of 2 minutes to make up on possibly one of the best rock riders in the world in Thad Duvall and a very determined Grant Baylor. So, nonetheless, for Jordan Ashburn, if he can salvage a podium finish after having to change a rear wheel, that would be a absolutely phenomenal ride for him.
Well, even without doing so, Johnny, I mean, you look at the big picture. I think if he looks at it, it's still got to be confidence and very confidence building and very inspiring to know what kind of domination he was riding with today. I mean, you have to think about the reality of it. 32 seconds at the end of that first lap. And that's pretty impressive. I mean, we've seen maybe Caleb has done it once or twice this year, but not a whole lot of times even for Caleb. And he rode a very dominating 2015 championship.
Yeah, absolutely. It's seldom that we've seen a rider pull that kind of gap on the opening lap like Jordan Ashburn did today. Obviously, Thad Duvall was able to pick it up, but now here's just, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. You have to wonder with Jordan Ashburn, obviously that didn't happen all at once. That bib moose just didn't immediately turn into thin air and that bead popped off. You have to wonder if Jordan Ashburn, that bib moose that they run in there instead of air, for those of you at home that don't know, what they do is they have a foam insert that's called a bib, and they run that inside their tire. There is no air in the tire, so it actually gets pressed into the tire and then put on the wheel, and it acts as the inflation device or the filling of the tire. In this case, what happened is, according to his mechanic, Lucas Statham, you know, that bib moose, that it broke down. It actually turns to like a dust, or it gets really soft, and eventually it turns into the same as riding with a flat tire. Usually it'll happen over a period of months or even a year or more, but these guys run new bibs every few races, so you have to wonder exactly what happened to that product for it to break down so badly that allowed the tire to actually unseat itself from the bead and come off of the wheel. If that's the case, that was a deteriorating condition over a period of miles or possibly even laps, so that could have attributed to the time that he lost to Thad Duvall, which allowed Thad to come up, push him, start, and eventually get around him. At that point, Jordan had the wherewithal to say, I'm not going to continue to push here and potentially DNF this race if I break a wheel, or if that, we've seen it before, that tire will actually come off and wrap up in the chain when it comes off the wheel. He cut off of the track, worked his way over to the pits, got that change, got back on, and is now battling for a podium position. So what a great decision on his part.
Honestly, all indications to me, that points out to me that Jordan is riding extremely hard, pushing it extremely hard here today in these conditions. Deteriorating that tire so quickly in these rocks, it's not so much of a surprise that they deteriorate quicker in the rocks, but deteriorating quickly as you said that it has to be from the extra effort that I think that maybe Jordan's been putting on. I mean, you know, sometimes these guys literally ride the wheels off these machines, and that might be what he's doing today.
You know, I believe we got possibly Matt Watson checking in with an update for us.
Megawatt?
Hey, Rodney, we're going to check in with one of Johnny's buddies, Chris Block, manager right now. Johnny Gallagher, owner of the job. Johnny Gallagher in the studio. Johnny Campbell here with me. Johnny Campbell, racing boss. Tough day in the trenches for you guys. Running in 7th place right now, about a mid-pack start, and I know 110% effort out of you guys every week. What's the strategy right now? What's the race management look like?
Well, we didn't come off the line very well, and you know it's really hard to move forward in these type of conditions. I think, you know, it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody's struggling with you know, goggle and vision issues and stuff, and it's just a real challenging conditions, you know, here. So, you know, some guys can deal with it, and some guys, you know, struggle a little more with it.
What's the next pit board say when he comes around?
Move it.
There you have it. Good advice. Hey, back to you guys in the studio.
Well, and there you have it. Word from the JCR Racing pit boss of Johnny Campbell saying the next pit board for Chris Box is going to say move it, as he sits back there. In last we had seen him in the 7th place position, or I'm sorry, 8th place position, and he is circulating out there trying to close time on those that lead group. But man, things are really heating up here, and we've got we'll wait and we'll watch, and we'll assume that very soon here we're going to see Thad Duvall checking in at the 5-mile marker is where we'll next see those guys. Grant Baylor in 2nd place, Nick Davis, the XC2 leader, 3rd overall, Josh Strang 4th overall, and Jordan Ashburn physically 4th overall, but on corrected time, 5th overall. So we're going to have to see if he can battle back up there for a podium position. We'll have more racing action when we return to Racer TV Live after this.
Scott's Performance, the only steering dampener with 21 Baja 1000 overall victories, introduces the new Scott's Rubber Submount. Easy to install at less than an hour in most cases, it features adjustable on-the-fly dampening to help reduce arm pump and fatigue. Come see what 25 years of experience building the best stabilizer can do at scottsonline.com. The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pulls per side. Durability in the toughest conditions.
And we're back here with our shot at the 5-mile marker. GNCC Live on Racer TV. It's Thad Duvall leading the way here in the XC1 class, followed by Grant Baylor, 46 seconds back. Nick Davis, 3rd overall, leading the XC2 Pro Lights class. And before we went to break, I actually had missed the fact that Jason Thomas had moved up to 4th overall on corrected time. Nick Davis with a 26-minute and 57-second lap time. So we had pointed out that Grant Baylor had dipped below 27 minutes on that last lap. Nick Davis actually besting his lap time by a little over a second. So Nick Davis, a man on a mission here. As we look at the elapsed time, though, he is roughly a minute and 16 seconds behind Grant Baylor to possibly try and reel in that 2nd place overall position. So as we run through our top 10 overall again, it's Thad Duvall leading the way. 46 seconds back is Grant Baylor in 2nd. Nick Davis from the XC2 Pro Lights class, 3rd overall. 21 seconds behind him in 2nd place in XC2. 4th overall is Jason Thomas. Josh Strang, 5th overall. A minute and 58 seconds back of Grant Baylor. Just behind Josh Strang was Jordan Ashburn, 10 seconds behind him. Again, for those of you just joining us, Jordan Ashburn led this race early, had some issues, had to come in and actually change a rear wheel on that YFZ 450 of his, has worked his way back into 6th overall and is physically 5th on the track. He was actually battling with Nick Davis. So with the pace Nick Davis has going, it's not unreasonable to think that Josh Strang is going to possibly lose a position here this lap to Ashburn. We'll have to wait and see. Looks like Thad Duvall now working his way by at the 5-mile marker. He's through that mud hole. Looks like he did still have goggles on. So that's one of the first times we've seen Thad still with his goggles on here in recent shots. After Jordan Ashburn, it was Stu Baylor running 7th overall, which would make him 5th in the XC1 Pro class. Daniel Milner, 6th in the XC1 Pro class and 8th overall. Chris Box, 7th in the XC1 Pro, 9th overall. Ricky Russell rounding out the top 10 overall would make him 3rd in our XC2 Pro Lights class. Now we see Grant Baylor just coming now past the 5-mile marker, and I don't know that that was 46 seconds. I believe he might have reeled in Thad Duvall just a tiny little bit here in the first 5 miles of lap 5. We'll next see these guys up on top of the ridge and back into the fog at the 7-mile marker here in just a few minutes. So as we look here, we'll run down the top 10 in our XC2 class. And I think we've got Matt Watson in the pits with another update.
Hey, we're down here in the pits right now. We've got Thad Duvall's dad, Chad. Now, you guys are discussing pit strategy a little bit. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but where do we stand right now? What do we look like as far as race management goes?
We're going to stop one more time just to make sure. It's kind of iffy out there today. We don't know how much they're slipping and sliding around and burning fuel, or they're kind of easy on the fuel. So the last time it was going to be 142 to 144. That's too far for us. So we're gonna play the schedule here and see where we're at.
Awesome. Well, I know you're a strategist, man. I know that race strategy was always a strong point for you. Hey, GQ, you got to be pumped right now. Your bike's looking really good. Sounds awesome every time it comes around.
Yeah, everything's been going according to plan today. You know, can't complain, and hopefully we can bring it home and sit in the center of the box this week.
Right on. Hey, there you have it. It's all good in the hood down here in Thad Duvall's pits. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks for that update there, Matt Watson, and we'll check in here, as we said, with the top 5 in our XC2 Pro Lights was Nick Davis, Jason Thomas, both of those guys running 3rd and 4th overall. Ricky Russell, rough and rowdy, 3rd place in the XC2 class. Trevor Bollinger has worked his way up to 4th in the XC2 class, and Benjamin Kelly from Harwington, Connecticut, a name we're not real familiar with here in GNCC Racing, having a great run in top 5. And there we see Grant Baylor working his way past the 6-mile marker. So Thad Duvall just a few seconds ago, shot his way through there. So we're going to have to see if we can get a time update. And now we're at the 7. I believe Thad Duvall should have already gone past that point. Now we're back to the 5. So we're kind of jumping around here to try and pick these guys up. Things are getting a little bit spread out. There is Thad Duvall. So at the 7-mile marker, Thad Duvall across the top of the ridge will get 37 as he passed that tree. 2 hours, 3 minutes, 37 seconds. We'll wait and we'll watch for Grant Baylor, see what the gap is, and we're going to find out exactly how this race is going to unfold here. Matt Watson just getting us that update that Thad Duvall is going to stop for a splash of fuel here to make sure that he has enough fuel to go the distance. Rodney, you got to believe that's a good decision in these conditions. Chad, his dad, a lot of racing experience. Here comes Grant Baylor. Looks like that is about 34 seconds, I believe it was, behind. So he has actually closed up that gap a little bit, and things could get interesting when you factor in. I don't know if Grant needs to stop again or not, but with that stopping, that's going to give about 10 seconds. We're going to be inside of 30 seconds when they leave VP Fuels Pro Row if things stay the way they are now.
Yeah, well, the question is, will Grant Baylor have to stop again, though? That's another question, and if they both elect to stop, that might even the playing field back out. One thing to point out, though, Thad Duvall, again, remember, 27.08 lap time, a 26.58 for Grant Baylor. He did turn a 10-second faster lap time on the lap 4 there. Here on lap 5, it looks like he may still be riding in that 10-second faster lap range still at this point.
Well, again, and we had calculated out that it would take Grant 4 to 5 laps at the rate that he was closing to close up that gap on Thad Duvall. But now that we've seen, we believe he's, again, about 10 seconds faster. If you calculate the fact in that Grant may not have to stop, and Thad for sure is going to stop based on the information we just got there in that update, now that takes you down inside of 30 seconds. And I got to tell you, Rodney, there's one thing you really can't account for, and that's the blood in the water factor.
Right.
If Grant Baylor can taste that win, he's going to push that much harder. Obviously, when you're at 46 seconds, it's obvious. As much as it's hard to say, it's hard to be motivated when you have that kind of a gap, even if you're closing it very slowly. But when you get inside of 30 seconds, that's one stall, that's one tip over, that's one, lapper kind of holding you up in a tight section. Now, man, it's a race. These guys are going to be coming through this time. They should be getting, at the completion of lap 5, the 2-lap card, and we'll see only 2 more laps of racing. So, man, things are really starting to wind down here. But while they're winding down, they're heating up.
As we mentioned, Grant Baylor does appear, at least traditionally, has gotten faster as the race has worn on. We'd mentioned that earlier, and I had thought that maybe Grant had started out too quick, too fast, too quick. But honestly, at this point, he's looking like he's right back on track, right where he wants to be, and he is gaining that speed. So he could get even faster than the 10 seconds a lap faster. So this could come down to a bar-banging, wheel-to-wheel finish here, and that would be exciting and one of the first we've seen in a number of years, at least since Caleb's reign started just a few years ago in this XC1 class.
Yeah, it's definitely would be exciting to see this thing come down to the final few corners, but one thing that I think we might see come down to this camera shot is Jordan Ashburn. Has he been able to close up that gap on Josh Strang? He was 10 seconds back when we had last seen him. Has he been able to close that gap? And if so, did he get around? Here's your answer. Jordan Ashburn into 3rd physically on the track. So he has passed Josh Strang. He has passed Nick Davis. There is Strang. So Josh Strang is hitched a ride with Jordan Ashburn. Now we'll wait and see. There's Nick Davis. So these 3 are together. Bear in mind, Jordan Ashburn physically 3rd, but Nick Davis well within that 1-minute time adjustment. Now we'll wait. We should see Jason Thomas next, which would be our XC2 second-place rider and may still be 4th overall, depending upon exactly how long it is before we see him here. Man, we're going to have our time clocks out and all kinds of things to figure out this podium here at the end of this one.
We're working on the last hour or so of racing here, Johnny, and one thing to point out, too, about these battles up front, are the facts that we are going to be hitting a little more lap traffic later in the race.
There went Stu Baylor as he just went past our camera, so that would make him now 3rd, 4th, 5th in XC1. This looks like Jason Thomas to me, and it is. So that's 2nd place in XC2, and that's going to be really close as to whether or not he's been able to hold on to that 4th place spot. Daniel Milner there we see working his way by. 6th place physically in XC1 and not too far behind Baylor there. So that's a great ride for Milner. He's, after having such a great ride there in Slovakia for the ISDE, he kind of struggled at our last round there at Unadilla. So for him to rebound with the 6th place in XC1, that's a good ride for him here today.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of strides by Daniel Milner over the course of the year. If you remember early in the year, they were talking about his diabetic situation and how he was trying to figure out the best strategies as far as fueling himself up for the race. And honestly, looks like we've seen a slow progression into favorable waters there. And here he is late in the race. He may not be battling for podium spots yet, but he's a lot better off than what he was, say, 5 rounds ago.
Well, and in all reality, he's not at all far out of a podium position. Now there we see Chris Bach in 7th place. So that's 7th in XC1, and I believe that would be 9th overall. Next, we should waiting to see Ricky Russell, who would be 3rd in XC2. And I believe Ricky was up into the top 6 or 7 overall when we had last seen him. We'll have to wait and see when he checks in here in just a few minutes.
10th place last time around, actually.
So yeah, those guys are all close together there. You know, that battle all the way from what is now Jordan Ashburn in 3rd physically, all the way back really to Daniel Milner, who is 8th physically on the track. You know, so 3rd through 8th, you got 5 guys that are all battling physically and on time correction for a podium position. I don't know that we've seen that many guys battling for a podium spot this late in a GNCC race in quite some time.
It's been a while, that's for sure, and it's certainly made an interesting mix of things. And I think these final 2 rounds, if today's racing is any indication, the final 2 rounds I think are going to be even more intense and even probably more players coming into play, and we might see this continue throughout the rest of the year as these guys are all so hungry for wins, and everyone coming into these race days feeling like that they have the abilities to do so. And as much as I hate to say it and point things out, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Caleb Russell isn't here. And sadly, I'm not saying that. That's what they have told me.
Yeah, you know, these guys are motivated by the fact that Caleb's not here. Caleb has kind of, I hate to say it, but maybe beaten these guys into submission a little bit over the last couple years with all the winning that he's been doing. Obviously, these guys still are paid to win. They want to win. They're driven to win. But at the same time, when Caleb wins so consistently, it's hard for these guys to really honestly believe they can do it. One thing that I have to comment on, Rodney, we can see the fog has lifted, the clouds have rolled out. I just suddenly looked outside and realized, hey, there's the finish line.
There's the podium.
Wait, there's the podium. There's the pro pits. We can see. So what you're looking at now is more what it looked like yesterday. Hey, you can see these guys working their way by at the 6-mile marker. We've been watching this same shot all day long, folks, but every time we've seen it, we couldn't even see that tree. All we saw was these guys appear out of the fog. Well, now we can see there's actually some hardy fans down there that have been watching the racing action. We can see the finish line chicanes we were just watching. So for those of you who've been wondering what Rodney and I are talking about all day long when we talk about, you know, these sections coming out at the 6 and all you were seeing was a haze on your screen, well, now you can see what we've been trying to tell you about all day long here.
And like we said, some beautiful scenery around here. Hopefully we'll be able to get some of those beautiful
Thad
shots.
Duvall, here's your leader, Rodney, coming in. What we're going to see this lap is we're going to see Ricky Towery with a 2-lap board in his hand, and I can actually see it. Thad Duvall, finish line chicanes. He's got 2 more turns, and then he'll be right into the finish line.
He's
Ricky Towery with a 2-lap board in hand. Thad Duvall going to stop and get some fuel here. And also, I'm assuming he's going to pick up some new goggles because Thad does not have any goggles on at the moment.
I believe he may be running about 30 seconds ahead of schedule right now. According to my calculations, he should be in about 30 seconds, and he goes through the scoring barrels right now. 27:08 last time around. This time around.
Whoa, Grant Baylor, here he comes. Look at this. He's closed this up inside of 10 seconds. Let's get a refresher here and see exactly where we're at. 10 seconds exactly. So that's something we didn't expect to see.
Wow, 26:57 for Thad Duvall. We were about to get excited about that. How about this, a 26:20 for Grant Baylor.
Wow, Grant Baylor's on the gas. He's closing this thing up. He smells blood in the water, and he wants a piece of Thad Duvall. Rodney, what we can't see right now is, man, what's going on the VP Fuels Pro Road? Did Thad Duvall stop for fuel? Is he getting goggles? Did Grant Baylor just take the lead? We got to find out here. We just got to know. I'm trying to look across the fields.
I can't see from here, to be honest with
Rodney, we have a new leader. Grant Baylor's in the lead. Thad Duvall on his rear wheel. I'm watching across the field. Folks at home, I'm sorry you can't see this, but Grant Baylor is leading. Thad Duvall on his rear wheel. They head off over the mountainside, and, man, they are on the gas.
Wow, so 10 seconds separated the two when they came through. And, Johnny, that's exactly what you had calculated in there. Believe it or not, this is coming to fruition. Now the big question is, can Duvall dig deep enough to run the pace that Grant Baylor is pushing at right now? And can Grant Baylor rise to the occasion if Thad Duvall does put that pressure on? This is going to be a very intense final lap of racing. Well, this isn't even the final lap. That was just a 2-lap board that came out,
Yeah,
right?
we've got 2 more laps of action left, Rodney. And, you know, I got to tell you, this is what makes this job so rewarding, but at the same time so tough. We're here theorizing. You know, Grant Baylor made up 10 seconds. It's going to take him 4 or 5 laps to close that gap on Thad Duvall. Thad Duvall's really on the gas. Thad Duvall goes out with a 26:57, bests his lap time by 9 seconds, if I remember correctly. Grant Baylor comes in and says, 4 or 5 laps? How about 1? He laid it down that lap. That is the fastest lap we've seen today by far. Grant Baylor, we've seen him so many times at that 2-hour mark is where he really picks it up. We're 2:14 into this, and Grant Baylor just took the lead.
Well, I'm sorry I doubted the youngster, that's for sure. This kid may be on his way to his first ever win here.
The sun, Rodney, the sun just came out. Man, we got so many exciting things happen here in the Mountain Ridge GNCC. We've got Grant Baylor taking the lead. Thad Duvall right there with him. Thad has battled all the way up from an early early third place position into second, then ultimately taking over lead. Jordan Ashburn now physically third, working his way through the final few corners. He's going to see – I'm really curious to see what Jordan Ashburn's lap time is because we know he's been hard on the gas. It's going to be almost impossible to even believe that he could have turned anything faster than what Grant Baylor did, but at the same time, you just never know. These NFAB and Pro Yamaha guys are on the gas today. Jordan Ashburn missing a side panel. That really tells you, you know, not only – now that could be something that there was no reason why they would have taken that off to change the rear wheel, but maybe in the fray things got caught up and they just said, hey, tear that thing off there. We don't need it.
Well, here comes Ashburn in now, and I think the stage is being set for a great final 2 rounds, especially with the confidence levels that are rising here. 27:07 lap time for Jordan Ashburn that time. He's 2:55 behind, but he's still in a solid third-place position. We knew that there was a big gap back there, but look at the lap times. He's back on pace and back on par. He's not under the 27-minute mark yet, but he is very close. And it looks like Nick Davis ahead of Josh Strang physically on the racetrack, and he is third place overall now after time adjustments as he now moves in front of Ashburn on time adjustments. Looking at elapsed time, the difference is only 1 second. So 1 second elapsed time, here it is, 2 hours, no, I take that back, it's a minute. 2 hours, 14 minutes, I thought that was I was looking at seconds, but it's 2 hours, 14 minutes, 28 seconds to 2 hours, 15 minutes, 11 seconds, so that's more like 42 seconds. 42 seconds. And Megawatt now is amazed at the sunshine. He's peeled his yellow gear, and I tell you what, Megawatt, a lot of exciting things going on in and around here at the Mountain Ridge. Johnny Gallagher all pumped up. We got the great racing going on the racetrack, the fog disappearing, and now sunshine. You got your shades on, man.
You know, I got my feelings hurt over in Thad Duvall's pits a few minutes ago. I got my feelings hurt over in Thad Duvall's pits. Chad, man, was making fun of my raincoat and my pants, and, you know, Keegan had to chime in, man, and they all had something to say about it. So, you know, sun's starting to come out, so I had to peel the goofy suit, and here we are, ready to go, enjoy the rest of this race. And look at this. What are these things, windmills?
Those are windmills.
Holy cow, where'd they come from?
I know. I couldn't even see those a few minutes ago.
I haven't seen them since Thursday.
Now, look out in some of these wider shots as Chris Bach makes his way in here near the finish line. When we swing back around with this camera shot right here, you'll be able to see off into the distance. We were talking about the beauty that is abounding around this area right here.
The beauty that is Mountain Ridge.
That is Mountain Ridge that we couldn't see because of the fog and the clouds a little bit ago, but that's not the case now. Bach is in. We hear him panic revving, trying to get some of that lap traffic out of the way. It looks like he might be riding with a little bit of intensity and fever here in these final laps. Bach is 9th overall. That puts him 7th in class. And there, look at there's the farm way off into the distance. Look how beautiful that is out there. The fall
Absolutely
colors.
amazing. Absolutely amazing.
You can't quite see it at this moment, but there's a lot of orange and yellow that's starting to dot through there, so it's really starting to be very pretty out there.
And the particular frame we're looking at, you've got the racetrack in front of the farm in the distance. It's beautiful.
It is, most certainly. We've got 2 more laps of racing to go. 2 hours, 18 minutes nearly into this event. It is now Grant Baylor leading Thad Duvall. Nick Davis is third on time adjustment, but physically on the track right now is Jordan Ashburn. He's got his head down. He's charging. Will he be able to regain the necessary time to take that third and final podium position? Stick around to find out. GNCC Live continues after this. Welcome back to Mountain Ridge GNCC, where we are well into lap 6 of a 7-lap race now. 2 hours and nearly 20 minutes into the battle, where once again Grant Baylor has taken over the lead from Thad Duvall. At last check, when they came through the finish line, it was Duvall about 10.7 seconds ahead. He had to stop in the pits for a quick splash of gas, and that allowed Baylor to get out just ahead of him. A lot of scenarios and a lot of questions begin to arise here, Megawatt Matt Watson. One of those now, Duvall, is he under pressure? Does he feel the pressure because Grant Baylor has pushed him so much? Or is he right where he needs and wants to be here in this final lap because now he's the aggressor instead of being aggressed against?
You know, at this stage in the game, I always would rather be the hunter than the hunted, to be quite honest with you. It's easier to force a mistake with the guy in front of you. It's easier to feel his speed, by far, pace yourself in that situation. Thad, though, man, when Thad gets a lead, he's tough to pass. I mean, he's tough to get around. But it's race management and race strategy. But myself, if I'm Thad, I'm happy to be where I'm at right now with a lap and a half to go.
No doubt about it. And obviously the pit stop was something that had to be done as Ryan Sipes makes his way in on the 264 machine. Not having the best of days for him. He is, you know, he's 13th overall, but you take away the 1, 2, 5, so he's actually 8th in the XC1 Pro class. So it's not as bad as it may appear, you know, looking at it right now. But, man, what a day. Some of these guys have found their struggles in these conditions. It's wet. It's rocky. The visibility, not necessarily bad, but it was a little more limited than normal. But now we're seeing that shape up quite a bit. And here in this last hour, we're seeing the Grant Baylor push come along. And, man, I'm glad that the fog is lifted so we can see more of that as it transpires around this course.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes the action that much more exciting. And the bottom line is, when you're looking at this situation right here, the time is closing, but we've got a new factor right now, Rodney. It's starting to be fatigue, you know, starting to be a physical aspect. We didn't worry about that for the first, say, as long as 2 hours. But getting into the closing laps and the closing stages now, outside of visibility, traction, and all these other things that you're concerned with, now it's conditioning. Now it's starting to get physical.
Well, the thing about it is, I think that we look at the riders that we see running in podium potential and contention right now. These riders, though Grant Baylor always seems to come on stronger at the end of the race, I think that these riders that we're looking at right now are riders that we normally do not see succumb to the fatigue factor. That might be a little different case today. Duvall might have been pushing himself a little harder to try to establish that lead a little more, and well, in the beginning to try to catch up and then establish that lead. So he might be seeing some fatigue, but I'm not expecting that to be so much the case because Duvall, though he may not pick the speed up that Grant Baylor does at the end of the race, he, as of late anyway, has seemed to be very strong whenever the checkers fly at the end of 3.
Yeah, these guys ride 3 hours all the time. They train for it, condition for it. That's their job. But when you add all the conditions that we have today, when you add the pit stops and a lot of stuff, it starts to get mental. And when it gets mental, then it starts to drain on you physically a bit. And it's just a matter of who manages that the best. Not any of these guys are going to be exhausted. Not any of these guys are going to be wiped out. But who lets a little bit of fatigue cause a mistake?
Yeah, and you're right. Mental. A lot of it is as mental as anything, and physical. The combined mental and physical aspects of this could wear thin. But, hey, man, I'm still up in the air on what's going to happen here. I mean, Duvall, though, he may be back in second, and we got Baylor turning a 15, 20-second faster lap.
It keeps showing Thad in first to us right here.
Well, that's the way that they came across at the end of lap number
time, yeah.
Yeah, at the end of lap number 5. They haven't seen that. We don't update out on the track, so but we physically saw that Grant Baylor had made the pass coming out of the pro pits.
I missed a lap there. Sorry about that. I was looking at it.
That's all right.
Gotcha.
So right now, Nick Davis is 3rd overall. We're looking at another year. You know, and traditionally, just to give you an idea, here at Mountain Ridge, it's not a shock to see an XC2 rider on the podium here. Last year we saw Grant Baylor do it. We saw, top 5 we've seen several times. Jason Thomas has been on the podium for here. Caleb Russell's been in top 5s. We've seen Dustin Gibson years ago running top 5s. So seeing the XC2 do well here is not a shock to the system, so to speak. But I got to tell you, Nick Davis really establishing himself early on here today as a podium contender. That, I think, was impressive.
Oh, no doubt about it. Made himself a contender early in the game and made his presence known and riding an extremely smart race and getting it done.
Getting her done, 224, working on 225 into this race. Looking at the 13 minutes and 30 seconds or so before we expect to see the leaders back in here. We are watching racing out near the 5-mile marker right now, and again here at the Mountain Ridge GNCC, waiting to see who is going to be able to take this win. Again, if you haven't done so, we encourage you to tweet your podium predictions and hashtag them GNCC Live in the AMSOIL Podium Predictions Twitter contest. You could pick up $250 in AMSOIL product. We will be giving that away at the end of the day today. You need not be perfect. You may not even get it right, but what we need is you to hashtag GNCC Live. We'll choose the winner randomly, and we will award them $250 in AMSOIL product. Also, if you want to follow along at home with RacerTV in Instagram and also in Twitter and things like that, be sure and do so. It's at RacerTV, just that simple. And you can also check out and like our Facebook page. The RacerTV folks, all of us here, really appreciate that.
Well, Rodney, I think our rays of sunshine have dissipated. They were short-lived here.
It warmed up about 8 degrees, I think, for just a moment.
Well, we can still see the windmills, but as far as those rays of sunshine, I think they may be gone. That was our about 6-minute window this afternoon.
It was a nice window, I'll tell you that. It felt good. Man, that wind's gotten cold again, so you got to wonder if those kind of changes will affect the riders any. I mean, maybe the warming up might be a benefit, but if it warms up like that and then the temperatures start to drop again, if we see a 10 or 15 degree drop over the course of the next lap or so, that could be quite effective, I think, in affecting these guys in their riding, I think.
Absolutely. What happens then, all the adrenaline's pumping, you got the body warmed back up and working hard, you got a good sweat going on, you drop 10 degrees or so, next thing you know, that sweat's starting to get really cold, frozen by the air and that kind of stuff, and it's really a shock to the body sometimes.
For sure, and right now we are looking at the shot from the 5-mile marker.
Looks good out there.
It does.
Looks nice.
You know, one thing to point out, you know, we talk about the windmills a lot here at Mountain Ridge, but you know, one of the things that we talked about a lot when we first started coming here was the fact that what's just a few miles from where we are right here, sitting right now, over in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. It is, of course, what we're talking about is the Flight 93 Memorial, located, as we said, only a few miles down the road. I think that Mike Brown was telling us this morning, I think it took him like 15 minutes to make that drive. But from the starting line, under perfect weather conditions, you can actually see the Flight 93 Memorial, the national memorial that is over there. And there's Thad Duvall making his way through the 5-mile marker, and Grant Baylor's right beside him, so we see that Duvall has regained the lead, and he looks back. It's almost like he's saying, come on, Grant, let's run this thing. Let's have some fun out here. And that's a good indication for Bad Thad right there. If he's able to get back around and these guys riding like that, this could take both these riders to new levels today.
I'm not sure what I just saw there other than Thad going by for sure, but, you know, kind of checked up and looked over at him, and like you said, kind of said, let's do this, let's go.
Yeah, either that or maybe something might have been happening with Grant's bike, and he might have been trying to figure that out. We'll see more, I'm sure, coming up here at the 6-mile marker coming up here in a moment. So if the gap is opened up between Thad, and Grant here, then we know that there must have been an issue taking place there. Otherwise, if they're still together, then they're prodding each other along and saying, let's roll with this and let's have some fun. So right now, we're still at the 5-mile marker. We'll check in with the leaders. 2 minutes 20, or take that back, 2:55, almost 3 minutes back to third place physical rider on the track, which is Jordan Ashburn right now. And, wow, 3 minutes. That's a big gap, or it was 3 minutes at the end of the lap. Now we're out near the 6-mile marker as we should be seeing Thad Duvall round the corner here in just a moment and give us a better idea and scope on what's taking place.
Yeah, be curious to see exactly what the gap is here, Rodney. You know, just not sure what I saw right there, to be honest with you.
No, they were like side by side, and then all of a sudden not. So lap traffic coming through, getting to be a little more plentiful in some areas. Duvall pushing his way through by now the 6-mile marker. And there's no sign of Grant Baylor back there, so maybe Grant was experiencing something as far as bike issues. Nope, there's Baylor. He's still up under speed. It doesn't seem to be as intense a speed as what we were witnessing, but he is still up and under speed. So, again, don't know what happened there, but the gap is now about 10 seconds back to the favor of Thad Duvall.
Yeah, definitely pulled away from him, and whatever that look was about, it resulted in a gap of almost like 10 seconds, you said.
Wow. So pretty impressive stuff there by Duvall today. I know he has ridden the wheels off of that machine. We've seen him do this so many times and come so close to within striking distance of a win and, this year, and it seemed like it just get taken away from him. But today, man, Duvall is riding like he's not going to be denied.
You know, it's amazing that any given time, any place in the world, that guy can do it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, he can pull the trigger. You know, when he's feeling it, when he's got the flow, man, here comes our leader right now, Thad. And look at this, up over the bar, man, intent, focus, hit that corner perfectly, and that's what it takes on a day like today, and he's making it happen. He's working it, no question.
7-mile marker. Oh, Baylor is right back up in there. He's within 5 seconds now.
Yeah.
So he's gained that 5 seconds back. These guys are seesawing back and forth. This is pretty interesting. Remember, I mentioned lap traffic there a moment ago. There's Ashburn coming through now at the 5-mile marker. He's in that neighborhood of about 3 minutes still. But, wow, what a solid ride for Jordy today, even after going in, changing the tire and back out on the track. Pretty impressive stuff. Right now, as we see out near the 7-mile marker, Duvall has regained the lead. Grant Baylor running in the number 2 spot. Jordan Ashburn physically third on the racetrack right now while he tries to beat the time adjustment of Nick Davis, who sits third in adjustments at the end of lap number 5. Will it happen? Stick around to find out. GNCC Live continues after this.
The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pools per side. durability in the toughest conditions.
And welcome back to Mountain Ridge GNCC, round 11 of the AMSOIL GNCC series here at the Mountain Ridge ATV Resort. And we're near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. As we were talking there a few moments ago, the Flight 93 Memorial located only a few miles down the road. And earlier this weekend, our camera crew got a chance to head over to the memorial itself and check out the beauty of this memorial and what it recognizes there. Of course, on Tuesday morning, September 11, 2001, the U.S. came under attack when 4 commercial airliners were hijacked and used to strike targets on the ground. Nearly 3,000 people tragically lost their lives that day. And because of the action of 40 passengers and crew aboard one plane, Flight 93, the attack on the U.S. Capitol was thwarted. A common field one day, a field of honor forever. And we certainly pay tribute to those folks that did just that as we pick back up with our leaders out here near mile marker number 7, Jordan Ashburn, back at the number 3 spot again, some 3 minutes behind, nearly 3 minutes behind Duval and Baylor, who are within just a few seconds of each other, about 5 seconds at last check there, Megawatt.
Yeah, 5 seconds. It looks like they just closed that gap back up within just a mile or so. So not exactly sure what happened.
Again. Yeah, Nick Davis checking in there. He's still well within that minute on Jordan Ashburn there. So Jordan still got to stretch it out a little bit in order to take the overall top 3 position today. He got bumped out of second overall with Grant Baylor last year and in the XC2 Pro Light. So you might know that he knows what it's like to be bitten by that snake, so he's going to be watching out for it, I think, and maybe trying to get a little distance out there.
Yeah, you can bet he's aware of that right now. He'd like to get as much distance as possible, and, you know, the one thing on his mind right now is the time.
2:35 into this, 2 hours and 35 minutes, and with lap 6 we're working on, we'll be seeing a white flag come out in about 3 minutes. We should be seeing our leaders check in. So Duval, Baylor, again, they're about 3 minutes ahead of the rest of the field out there. So we'll be watching for those guys, and then we'll be interested to see what's going on back there for that number 3 position on time adjustments.
Yeah, you know, it's all going to come down to that adjustment, man. It's all just going to, we'll have to see where the callers fall after that checkered flag flies. Thing is, we're going to have a white flag here in about 2 minutes, and that changes everybody's perspective. You know as well as I do, the last lap in GNCC can result in anything, and you know, there's almost always a shakeup, Rodney, on the last lap. I don't care if it's for second place, the lead, third place, whatever. There's almost always a shakeup, and it'll be critical to see where that is on this last lap here today.
Yeah, something always big turns the tides for somebody out there. Again, looking at the beauty of this Mountain Ridge ATV Resort out over there, as you see straight ahead basically is where the Flight 93 Memorial is located, about 2 mountain ridges over. And right now we check it out. It says 2 minutes now. I'm highly anticipating what's going on here, man, because of what we've been seeing here between Duval and Baylor over this last lap. Remember when they came through, Baylor got around Duval, then we saw them at the 5 mile marker. They were side by side. Then we saw them at the 6. There was about 10 seconds that separated them. We saw them at the 7. There was only 5 seconds that separated them. So a lot of really neat things going on just in this lap alone, and a lot of questions still to be answered when these guys come back into sight here in about a minute or so.
Yeah, should just be about under a minute, and we're right at a minute. And as these guys work their way through, things are going to unfold a little bit. We're going to see, but both these guys have gas. I don't think either one's going to stop for goggles on this last lap. I think they're going to deal with the situation, and it's just going to be a bit of race strategy, and it's going to be a matter of who wants it today, who really wants it the most, because they're close enough that you're really going to have to work hard and push and make a mistake, or the bottom line is, you give it away yourself. So one or the other.
Less than a minute to go now. Last time around, we saw Thad Duval checking in about this time, which put him about 30 seconds ahead of what we expected him to be in. And this race, this lap, not so much the case as we are approaching. We're under 38 seconds now, approaching the 30 seconds. So we looked up here and appear that we may be closer to right on exact time of what we saw, about 27 minutes, just under the 27-minute mark at 26:57. Here comes Duvall in now, I believe. Nope, that wasn't him. I saw that gear and all of a sudden thought it was him. But man, the visibility has changed so much here late in the race and late in the day for us as spectators.
Yeah, it's just incredible when you look out across the field right now, Rodney. All of a sudden, farms become invisible on the other valley. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 8 or 9 windmills now visible, and you couldn't see one that was 100 yards away this morning. And it looks to be moving off to the west. There's our leader right now, working his way through, and it'll be. He's looking back right now. You see that he's checking his position, looking back.
Well, it was 5 seconds last check, and when we saw him at the 7-mile marker, that was about 3 miles ago. And I'm listening, and I don't hear a lot of hard charging coming in behind him. 12 seconds. 12 seconds is what that gap is between them now. So it has opened up a little bit over that 5 seconds we saw at the 7-mile marker. But it's not in that comfort zone that bad Thad Duvall was hoping for, I'm sure. Look at the intensity at which Grant Baylor's riding at here today. As he checks in, we said 12. It was 10 at the end of the last lap and 11.3 now. A 27:07 lap time for Thad Duvall. Grant Baylor turned to 27:08.
Wow, doesn't get much closer than that, man. And you know what? With the gap only being about 12 seconds on the track, that's tough to deal with a 1 second difference on that lap time.
And remember, Duvall lost 10 seconds in the pits. So if you were to have kept him on pace, he would have been at the 26:57, which would have been an identical lap time as to what he had turned the lap before.
Absolutely.
So, man, Duvall has been very consistent lap after lap here today. That's as impressive as anything. I know we talk about the speed that Grant Baylor seems to acquire over the course of time, but I think I got to be as impressed with the consistent speed that we've seen out of Thad Duvall today, Johnny Gallagher.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I went out and checked out a little bit of the track over by the 6 or the 7-mile marker there, and watching Thad come by, it's a very calculated ride he's putting in now. You know, he did his sprint early. He closed the gap. He was 32 seconds down on Jordan Ashburn at the end of lap 1. Actually, a little more than that. I think he was about 45 seconds down because he was in the 3rd place position behind Grant Baylor. So Thad put the sprint in as DQ, his mechanic, and his girlfriend Maggie working their way by. Bad Chad was in front leading the pack there as they came by. They're running over to check their rider as he comes through at the next position where they can see him. They'll run over the edge of the hill, and they'll get to see him coming the other way. So these guys are doing everything they can to cheer him on and keep him informed as to what's going on. They're going to let him know that, as you said, 11.3 seconds is the gap over Grant Baylor. These two are pushing it to the absolute limit. You know, we're seeing these guys upwards of 2 minutes ahead of their next closest competitor. It's crazy how much these guys have turned up the wick here late in this race.
It most certainly is, as we continue to wait with bated breath to see what's going on with this 3rd place position here. Nick Davis on adjusted time is 3rd from the XC2 Pro Lights class. Jordan Ashburn is physically in the 3rd place position, but 4th overall on adjusted time. And looking at the elapsed time between those two, I think we were looking at some 40 seconds or so that was separating them, 42 seconds if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be quite a bit of time to make up. 42 seconds is a lot to make up on Nick Davis, even for Jordan Ashburn.
Yeah, and I was taking a look over on the other side there, Rodney, and when Jordan Ashburn came by, he was riding with such intensity. I would have thought that he would have dug into that dug into that gap that Nick Davis has on him with the time correction. But Nick Davis was really pushing the pace also, and it appeared to me that it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 seconds that he had over Nick Davis, which would mean, again, Nick Davis with the time correction is actually 30 seconds ahead of Jordan Ashburn in the overall. So he's going to have to turn it up quite a bit here in this final lap of racing to see if he can. He's taking a look over his shoulder. He wants to know just exactly where Nick Davis is at. That wasn't Nick behind him. He's ducking his head. He doesn't have any goggles on. That's one of our Open A riders, or 4-stroke A lights rider, Brady Myers, there behind him. These guys are really pushing the pace. We'll wait and see Nick Davis in that very, very bright fly gear, and there he is. That is nowhere near 30 seconds. He's probably only 15 seconds physically behind Jordan Ashburn, which means Ashburn would need to make up about 45 seconds in order to have a shot at getting up on that overall podium. Now we see Josh Strang who's physically 5th overall, physically and with time correction. We'll have to wait and see where Jason Thomas checks in there. But there are your top 5 overall as they run. So it's Thad Duvall, Grant Baylor, Nick Davis, Jordan Ashburn, and actually, I'm sorry, I missed Stu Baylor in there.
Wow.
So Stu Baylor up to 5th place overall and 4th in XC1. He made quite a charge and actually got up and got around Josh Strang that lap.
45 seconds is the difference between Ashburn and Davis. So 46 seconds or 45 and so many tenths of a second or whatever is what Jordan Ashburn is going to have to make up here on this final lap of racing. And Nick Davis has been riding on rails today, man. You've got to hand it to that young man here in this XC2 Pro Lights class today.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it's been a tough season for Nick. It seems every time that he's actually out there circulating and putting laps in, you know, he's right up in there and battling for the win in that XC2 class, and you know, top 10 overalls every time. He's had a lot of issues this year and has DNF'd a lot of races, unfortunately. You know, he and his crew there have been working really hard to make sure that they can do everything they can. I think Nick's got some exciting for himself for next year. I think he's going to be, you know, campaigning a real exciting program for him next year. We'll hear about that a little bit more at the end of the year probably. But, you know, this guy right now is putting in a ride that could potentially put himself on the map for, you know, great factory rides for years to come. Obviously, any manufacturer, any sponsor wants a rider that's capable of getting up there on the podium, and that is exactly what Nick Davis is proving that he's capable of today.
Well, Chris Bach, man, poetry in motion. I got to say, just watching this guy ride, you know, when he's on, he's on. And even on the days he's not, he's got, I think, a uniqueness in his riding style, a comfort, if you will. He looks very comfortable on that machine. And every race he appears to be more and more comfortable, I think, on this Honda.
Yeah, you know, Chris, I'm sure not having the day he was looking for today. I believe he would be 6th in XC1 and physically 7th overall. I'm not sure if Jason Thomas checked in or not. Yep, Jason Thomas did check in. Looks like he is 2nd in XC2 and 2 minutes and 2 seconds behind Nick Davis for that 2nd place position in XC2.
Wow, no beating off each other today in those turns and stuff, the way that we've seen them slam and jam in some of those, and not only that, just the intensity of the battle that they normally carry. It's kind of a shock and surprise, and I was joking around early this morning, and I said, wow, this right here could be a Jason Thomas day. It's foggy, it's rainy, it's cold, just like he's used to back at home, or used to be used to. But I don't think he's so acclimated to those types of things anymore. I think he's more of an American rider nowadays because this is what he's used to riding lately.
Yeah, that was the case years ago. You know, UK, as we call him, he grew up in Wales there and rode in some crazy conditions and would always shine at the tougher races there at places like Snowshoe and, you know, some of our tougher mud races. But, you know, he's been here so long, I think he's kind of acclimated to these tracks. No doubt those skills still lurk, and he still rides very well in those conditions. But, you know, today he just didn't seem to have anything for Nick Davis. They battled early, and then Nick, I think what actually happened is Nick got hooked up with a couple of the XC1 riders.
Yeah.
And when they picked their pace up there mid-race, it appears that Jason Thomas either chose not to. Keep in mind, Jason Thomas has this XC2 championship very well in hand, so he might have just chosen today, hey, man, Nick Davis, you're the man, go get it. I'm going to take my 2nd place and take one step closer to wrapping up this XC2 championship.
It's a possibility. He might do it today, isn't it?
I don't know exactly what the points are, but I know he's got a pretty healthy lead, so things...
Yeah, that's overall points. I don't know what the class points are looking like right now, but regardless, it's pretty interesting to say the least as we are in the final lap of racing here at the Mountain Ridge GNCC. We should expect to see a checker flag fly out of Ricky Towery's hands in less than 20 minutes, looking at about probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 19 and a half minutes at this point. Thad Duvall leading Grant Baylor had 11 seconds, only 11 seconds between the two. Jordan Ashburn was running physically 3rd, but not far behind him was Nick Davis, 4th physically on the track, but after adjusted time running in the number 3 spot. And what I can gather, I think a 45-second advantage of elapsed time there for Davis in that position. Stu Baylor rounding out in the top 5. And you got to say, this is a pretty impressive ride by Stu Baylor today. He may be 5th overall, but the big picture is that he is 4th in the XC1 Pro class. And Johnny, correct me if I'm wrong, this has been the strongest finish we've seen Stu Baylor probably all season.
Absolutely. This is the best ride we've seen out of Stu all year. And to do that coming back after that injury, it just shows how tough he is. You know, obviously probably hasn't had the time that he would have liked to prepare. you know, physically and mentally for this event. But, you know, being at home sometimes makes people hungry, and Stu Baylor was hungry to come out here and prove that he's still capable of running up front. You know, he's 13th overall in the points right now, but he's missed, looks like 5 races he sat out so far.
Yeah, 5 races.
In 2015.
The best he's done so far this year was a 5th place at round 4, which would have been the Big Buck GNCC. But his next best finish was 6th, then he got a 7th and 2 9ths. So, yeah, this is certainly, I think, some bright lines in the clouds there for the silver lining, so to speak, for Stu Baylor. He's starting to see things really pick up here toward the end part of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we look at the XC2 Pro Lights points here, it's actually Ricky Russell in 2nd place, who's currently running 3rd on the track. So with, let's see, 252 points for Jason Thomas and Ricky Russell, 176.
I think it's done.
That would be a difference of, yeah, we'll have to do some quick math, but
it's more than 60, I think.
Well, it's definitely more than 60, and that's all that's left on the table after today. So I think it was a mathematical possibility today, but with Jason Thomas running 2nd and Ricky Russell running 3rd, if things finish the way they are, Jason Thomas will put the final nail in the coffin for that XC2 Pro Lights Championship.
Well, congratulations to him. And another rider that was crowned the champion early, I think, as far as racing is concerned, was that of Casey Martinez, one of our top WXC riders. So I'm not mistaken, I think we crowned her at Snowshoe, if memory serves me correct. Well, just because she won the championship don't mean she was ready to slow down. She hit Mountain Ridge with a fistful of fury today.
Hello, RacerTV fans. We're here with our WXC winner today, Casey Martinez. Once again, here you are in that #1 spot, KM. And you know what? You look like a mud puppy here this morning, man. Tell us a little bit about those conditions.
Yeah, for the conditions out there is pretty hard to see and stuff, but the track's really still raceable. It's not too slippery. I'm still getting a lot of traction. My Dunlop tires are hooking up great out there, and AG really prepped my bike for the mud, so I felt really comfortable on my bike today, and I was able to pull off the win.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned that. We've had worse conditions as far as track conditions, but I have to say the fog and actually the moisture and stuff on the goggles probably had to be the real challenge.
Yeah, definitely. I went through a lot of goggles. My team had them ready for me, you know, out in the woods and AG, so that helped out a lot. But this fog, I mean, it's really hard, you know, for any kind of goggle, I think, to get through. But I'm just happy, you know, to get through it, and I didn't have many problems out there, so it's fun.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. You led a bunch today, so we're going to see you over on the podium in just a second. Back to you guys in the studio.
All righty, thanks a lot, Megawatt. Matt Watson, that was from earlier this morning when we saw the conclusion of the 10 o'clock race, which started about 10:12, I think, this morning. Yeah, got a little bit late, but man, I tell you, had a good youth race this morning, good 10 o'clock race this morning, and that just, I think, preluded to what we've watched here today, Johnny. I gotta say, even though we haven't been on the edge of our seats like constantly, this has been a very exciting race today, especially between Duval and Baylor, and being able to see what's been going on between those two.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's crazy to see the way things have unfolded today. You know, we didn't really know what to expect, except that we knew we were racing in conditions we hadn't really experienced possibly ever before, with the limited visibility from the fog and the clouds. But for these guys to go out there and put the show on that they have, Thad Duval and Grant Baylor have just been hard on the gas, and at different points in the race, each of them has looked like the stronger rider. But right now, you know, it really is a toss-up between them. There might be an 11.3 second difference between them on the track, but Rodney, we know 11.3 seconds in GNCC racing. That's hardly time to start celebrating.
That's for sure, and especially with the time we got left out here. But speaking of the time we got left, look at this. Wondering how the top amateur racing is going today. I know we've had one rider as of late that seemed to be dominating things out there.
We've got those of you watching on screen. This is how dedicated riders can be in GNCC racing. You know, nobody's going to give up. This guy's going to run back, get whatever he needs to fix his bike. He's looking over his shoulder for his competitors. You know, he's going to say, "Hey, bud, I might have to go back and get my bike, but I'm going to catch up and make the pass." Kudos to you, man.
No doubt. That's got to be a heartbreaker right there. He's trying to yell to somebody to get him some tools, give me some parts, get me down here, get me out of here, get me back in this race. But Right now, 2 hours and approaching the 2 hour and 53-minute mark here in this race. Thad Duvall still leading at last reports. We heard it was Grant Baylor running in the number 2 spot. And as we were saying, as far as top amateurs go, the 250A class leader Mason Atherton has moved into 20th place overall now. He's riding aboard the number 50 machine. He's out of Clarion here in the great state of PA. 54 seconds back behind him in 22nd place is second place in his class. That is Bonnyman, Kentucky's Vance Francis. So basically it looks like Atherton, if he can hold on, he hasn't completed lap 6 yet, so we don't know that he's going to be heading into that final lap in that position. But right now, he's top 20, or at least he was top 20 after 5, and he's on his way home to being the top amateur today.
Yeah, and that's always an interesting battle to watch. You know, so many amateur racers out there. Obviously, we follow our pro battles very closely in our XC1 and XC2 classes. You know, the amateur classes, that's the majority of the riders out there. And to be that top amateur, that's quite, you know, quite an honor. And a lot of things,
wow,
a lot of these guys focus on that race.
Johnny, we're watching on the RacerTV.com the 6 mile marker. We see a lot of, is that steam or smoke coming out of that bike?
That's actually steam. He probably overheated coming out of that mud hole. Just below this, there's a mud hole in the woods. Now we see our buddy walking back. Maybe he got his parts or his tools. Looks pretty upset.
You don't look, don't look happy, that's for sure.
But yeah, you know, what happens is these radiators get blocked up, these bikes get overheated, and then when they stall them as they're kicking them, it blows the excess steam out of the crankcases, and they're trying to get these things cooled down. But you know, one thing you're not going to cool down right now is the battle for this win, and that's between Thad Duvall and Grant Baylor. Somewhere in the woods of the Mountain Ridge facility, those guys are out there throwing down right now, probably banging bars and working their way past lap riders, through the mud, through the rocks, through the holes, through the trees, and this one's going to come down to the wire.
Less than 12 minutes to go. Johnny Gallagher here with me as we wait to make the call in the final and closing moments of this CarMate Trailers Mountain Ridge GNCC, round 11 of this AMSOIL GNCC series presented by Maxxis. And Johnny, a big championship has been awarded in this class with Caleb Russell capturing his 3rd. He also captured the National Enduro title last week, and believe it or not, this is kind of his 3rd major national title here in 2015, as he also got the full sprint enduro title earlier this year. So 3 big U.S. championships that he's been able to capture this year, and his absence has bred a whole new life to the racing here today on the two-wheel side of things, as we've seen Duvall, Baylor, Ashburn, even Stu Baylor and Josh Strang all stepping up to the plate.
Yeah, you know, all those guys you mentioned definitely stepping up and putting in a great race here today. You know, one guy that's got to be disappointed, although he is still running a solid 5th place position, you know, Josh Strang, I think after winning that last race, he expected to come here and battle for a win or battle for a podium, and something's just been off with him all day. I mean, and if off is a 5th place finish, that's still a pretty impressive ride, not bagging on him by any means. But you know,
looking at it, though, I mean, if you look at this, of all the races he's ran this year, 5th will be his worst finish this year.
And that's what I was pointing out. I wasn't coming down on Josh. You know, he's an excellent rider, obviously a former champion, a multi-time winner. But for him, you know, to win that last race and seemingly kind of look in control through that whole Unadilla race, I mean, obviously was pressured by Thad Duvall, was pressured by Ryan Sipes, was pressured by a lot of guys. But when it came right down to the stretch, we saw Josh Strang drop his lap times, grab another gear, get out front, get a comfortable lead, and hold that to the finish, just like we've seen Caleb Russell do so many times. So Josh Strang really kind of stepped into that point position just 2 weeks ago at Unadilla. Here is Thad Duvall. Here's your leader, folks. Don't mean to cut in on what we were talking about, but 6 miles in, and Thad Duvall's leading the way. No goggles on, but hammer down. We'll have to wait and see exactly. We've got 55 at the top of the hill, 22:56, 55. We're going to have to wait and see exactly what the gap is back to Grant Baylor. But
it's already
it's over that 11 seconds that we had seen when they saw him at the finish line. So you got to wonder, did Thad Duvall dig deeper and drop his lap time? Is he going to be able to stretch this one out and kind of take the question out of it?
I don't know, man. That's a lot of questions that we are going to have answered in less than 10 minutes, Johnny Gallagher. Our leader is expected in, according to calculations, at 9 minutes from right now. We should be seeing if he's running on the same pace as before.
There is Grant Baylor with no front fender, so that answers the question as to what exactly happened. Or, I'm sorry, a very broken front fender. A big chunk of it missing.
he got, what was that, almost 40 seconds that separated the two, huh?
Yeah, he was about 40 seconds back. So Thad has turned up the wick, put about 30 seconds on Grant this lap, making it upwards of 40 seconds. It appears that he's got over the second place rider of Grant Baylor as they work their way towards the finish. About 3 miles of racing action remaining.
Well, 2 hours, 58 minutes into this one. We're going to go a little long, it looks like, into the 3 hour, 7 minute range when it's all said and done.
Yeah, you know, I made the comment earlier that it's rare we see these races go 3 hours, and today's the exception. You know, if you're going to test these guys, these conditions are the days to do it. Let's see it go well over 3 hours, and man, they're really going to earn their finishes today. That's for sure.
No doubt about that. 2 hours, we're working on 3 hours, and here at the 7 mile marker, we're watching now. Was that Baylor going?
Yep, Grant Baylor with half a front fender. So you have to assume he's come in contact with something, whether that be a lapped rider or a tree or, you know, a rock got kicked up and something snapped that front fender off. And those things are pretty tough. So really obviously shows you how hard Grant is pushing in search of what would be his first ever overall win. But it looks like
now, here's an interesting point to ponder. Remember Nick Davis running a blistering fast pace, and if Grant Baylor was to drop his times very much, you got to wonder, where does that put Nick Davis in contention for moving up even more? He's still over the 2 minute mark, I think, or right around 2 minutes behind. So it's going to take quite a bit of a drop here in the last couple of miles, I think, for Davis to get the overall adjustment on second. But still, nonetheless, Baylor's got to keep the gas on to at least maintain this position.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, with Nick Davis was somewhere in the neighborhood of last lap. It looks like he was round about, let's see, that'd be a minute and 30 seconds behind Grant Baylor after the time correction, because he was physically 2.5 minutes, give or take a couple seconds, behind Baylor. So it would be a minute and a half with the time correction. Now, Baylor having given up 40 seconds, that takes that down to maybe somewhere around the 50-second range. So it's not completely ridiculous to think that if Nick Davis put in a good lap, but it's definitely going to be a stretch. I think the way things stand, if Nick Davis can put in another consistent lap, Jordan Ashburn, again, as we pointed out, would have had to have made up 45 seconds on Nick Davis, certainly within the realm of Jordan's capabilities, given the fact what we've seen him do earlier today with the blistering fast laps he was putting in. Rodney, I don't know. I hear a bike that seems like it's pushing pretty hard coming to the finish. I don't know if this is...
Nah, that'd be about 6 minutes early. If
okay,
that was...
that's an XC2 rider. It looks like possibly Scott Grill's working his way through. I'm not sure who that was, actually, but... I got all excited. I thought we had our winner coming in.
3 hours into this, and now we're not ready for the winner yet. That would mean that Thad Duvall picked up 6 minutes somewhere on that racetrack.
Hey, he's going fast. You never know, Rod.
You'd be riding lightning if he was doing that, I think, there today. Maybe that's what he calls his bike. I don't know. Here we go. Out still near the 7 mile marker. That looks like another one of our XC1 riders.
No, that was we're waiting on, should be Jordan Ashburn that we see next at the 7 mile marker. He would be, there we see his dad, Dave, with the pit board. Yeah. There is Jordan. They're giving him, no doubt they're giving him signs on exactly the kind of time that he needs to make up. At this point, I don't think he thinks he can catch Thad Duvall. I think he's just trying to pull time. Oh, actually, he's trying to outrun Josh Strang, because there's Josh Strang hot on his heels. Now we'll wait and see exactly where Nick Davis is. Now we've got a minute to work with since we've seen Jordan Ashburn come by. So we'll wait and see if Nick Davis can keep it within that 1 minute gap. I didn't catch the exact time when he came by, but it was somewhere in the 3:01.
15.
And there is, nope, that was not Nick Davis. So we might have a battle brewing here for over that third and final podium position.
Yeah, it might become a physical battle rather than an adjusted time battle.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nick Davis has done a great job all day today, so we'll have to see if he can hold on to it with just 3 miles remaining. We wait and we watch, and we're watching here for, I know for sure when I looked down it was 3:01:30 something, so we're upwards of 30 seconds. We're approaching 40 seconds and closing in quick on 50 seconds here. So we may see Jordan Ashburn physically and with the time correction still take that 3rd place position, and if Josh Strang can get up there and battle with him, that might become a battle for the podium. Oh, wow, this is going to be a close one. Here's Nick Davis. Wow, we're right at about a minute, Rodney.
I think they got it. I was thinking they were in the 3:01:20s, just to be honest with you. So it's right there. It's within striking distance. He's still got a chance, but Jordan Ashburn has the chance to be able to still maintain the third-place overall position physically and on-time adjustment. But he's got Josh Strang. That could be an advantage to him because it could push both of these guys to new levels.
And wait a minute, when we last saw, it was Stu Baylor we saw who was in 4th place. We've lost Stu Baylor from that battle, unless we missed him there. So it was Jordan Ashburn, Stu Baylor, and then Josh Strang.
Wow.
Now Josh Strang back up to 4th and battling with Ashburn for 3rd. So we've lost Stu Baylor from that battle.
How interesting would this be if we missed Baylor and he was actually in 3rd?
Man,
who knows? I mean,
I think we should both be fired if that's the case.
Please don't say that. I like to eat.
Just for the day. Just for the day. Just fired for the day.
Okay, I could take that. That way somebody else can clean this
We'll
mess up.
We'll let Megawatt come in here and call the last couple turns of racing action. But, you know, we know that, you know, Thad had a comfortable lead when we saw him over there on Grant Baylor. The question is he going to be able to hold that these last 3 miles? Let's not forego any conclusion. Obviously, whatever happened to Grant Baylor that broke that front fender and caused him to lose that time, you just never know. Anything can happen in GNCC racing. So we wait and we watch, and we wait and we watch, and the next rider we hope to see coming around the corner in our XC1 battle and for the overall will be that of, and it should be soon because that was the rider we saw who was blowing all that steam. Now we see Chris Bach working his way through at the 7-mile marker. So we don't know if we missed Stu Baylor, or if he possibly has dropped back to the 6th place in XC1 position. And also we wait for Jason Thomas. We've got to watch him to come in to see if he can clinch that XC2 title.
2 minutes and 30 seconds. We're actually less than that now in anticipation of your leader checking in with the win, and we're expecting that to be the 989 of Thad Duvall on that Rocky Mountain ATBMC backed Husqvarna machine that he's riding there with Fred Andrews Racing and the folks over and at KR4, of course. And man, just watching him waiting, you know, this has got to be just exciting stuff for not only, you know, the family and Thad and his mom and dad and everybody, but just for that whole program that they've been working on over the course of the last few years, that they've been able to mesh and pull together the way that they have. It's got to feel like things are coming to fruition and they have done exactly what they've set out to do finally.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Thad Duvall's been a star since his mini racing days. I can remember watching Thad on a little KX60, and he was out there tearing it up, and we always knew that Thad was going to be great. You know, it's been a long, bumpy road for Thad to the top. You know, he's won races, he's won XC2 championships, but for him to, you know, close out this deal here in 2015 with a win with still 2 rounds remaining, you know, possibly even some time to rack up some more wins, that would be such a great stepping stone for Thad to repay all these. Oh, and there he is, folks. Thad Duvall.
Wow. And he's actually a little bit early right now, according to calculations. So it looks like Thad Duvall laid down the law here on the final lap of racing. And this Husqvarna rider is pushing through the final few turns to capture his first win of 2015. And he will become the 4th different winner in this XC1 Pro Bike class as he rounds the final few turns. The West Virginia fans and those fans of Thad Duvall gathering up here to congratulate Bad Thad Duvall and his first win of 2015 and winning this Mountain Ridge GNCC. And I tell you, wow, what a great place to make it happen here in Pennsylvania. I know we're a couple hours still north of the West Virginia border, but man, a lot of West Virginia race fans up here this weekend. A lot of folks are really very stoked to see what they just witnessed
and there's
here.
Grant Baylor as he works his way through. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there, Rodney, but now keep in mind we're going to have to keep an eye on Grant Baylor and see exactly how. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Nick Davis had lost that time, so we think that Grant's obviously, unless something crazy happens, he's safe here in 2nd, but it's going to be that 3rd and final podium spot that's really up for grabs between 2 riders physically on the track, Jordan Ashburn and Josh Strang, and then with the time correction, nearest our calculations, we're within 1 or 2 seconds on the time correction for 3rd overall between those 2 and Nick Davis, the XC1 leader. And here he comes, Grant Baylor. Heck of a ride today for this guy. He's really worked for it. He ran 2nd early, dropped back a little bit. Thad Duvall got away, and then he put in one heck of a charge with 2 laps to go there. Caught Thad Duvall, made the pass, led for a bit, finishes 2nd today. Grant Baylor.
Nearly 56 seconds back, but Grant Baylor finishes in the number 2 spot here at Mountain Ridge. And here comes the battle, I believe, for the number 3 spot, or we should be seeing the number 3 spot battle coming up here pretty soon with Jordan Ashburn and Josh Strang. So we'll be watching, and we're hearing from radio traffic that these guys are still nose to tail right now, Johnny.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this is going to be exciting watching these guys through these final chicanes. It's slick on the inside, but that outside rut is rough. So it could be a situation where we see these guys trade this position back several times through the final corners. And again, that's going to be the NFAB Ampro Yamaha of Jordan Ashburn and the factory Husqvarna of Josh Strang. These guys are nose to tail. Both of them want to, you know, maybe not have the races that they want today. We were just talking about how Josh Strang's 5th place overall would be his worst finish so far this season. Well, suddenly, if in the last lap he can turn that 5 into a 3, that's going to make his day a whole lot better. You get a chance to thank everybody up on the podium, and seems to make all that effort that much more worthwhile.
It most certainly does. Some 3 minutes and 20 seconds separating the 2nd and 3rd place battle. Or the battle for 3rd place, I believe, from 2nd place is the way I should word that. So we do have a little bit more time to wait as Thad Duvall continues his celebration in the victory circle over there, and Grant Baylor in the number 2 spot. It is still, like we say, up for grabs and up in the air. As
there it is, Jordan Ashburn in 3rd. It looks like he's pulled away from Strang
yes,
just a little bit. And part of you has to almost want to see this for Jordan Ashburn, you know, to lead this race, to have seemingly a battle for the win or possibly a win in hand, have that rear wheel, that moves come apart, have to come in, lose over 3 minutes in the pits, and to come back and finish 3rd overall, or at least 3rd in the XC1 Pro class like it looks he's going to. You see Josh Strang just a few seconds behind him there, but it appears that Jordan Ashburn has this one covered as far as finishing 3rd physically. Now we'll have to wait and watch, and there it is, Ashburn across the line in 3rd. Josh Strang going to cross the line just behind him, 4th in the XC1 class.
3:19 was the gap between them at the end, or heading in. 2:08 was the gap as he checked in just there. Made up a minute and 11 seconds on those front 2 runners there. That should quite possibly secure 3rd place even on time adjustments, unless Nick Davis found some strength and some speed out there. Josh Strang has checked in physically 4th on the racetrack, only 5 seconds behind Jordan Ashburn. But wow, what an accomplishment for those two as they, on that final lap, made up well over a minute on the front runners of Duvall and Baylor there, and that might have saved Jordan Ashburn's 3rd place overall position here and secured his spot on the podium as far as the overall is concerned here today. We still and continue to wait with bated breath to find out whether or not Nick Davis is going to be able to muster up the extra seconds that he lost there with only 3 miles to go to try to make him up.
Davis. Our screen cut out on us, but there he is, Nick Davis in the final turns. Looks like he's definitely going to grab the win in the XC1 class. We'll have to wait and see where we're at with our time. He's got a couple more turns to go. I think he's going to come up just short, Rodney. I think he's going to be maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of 15, 20 seconds short of getting on this podium, but still a great ride for him today. Looking like it's going to end up being a 5th place overall, but he's going to keep giving her gas right to the finish. You know he's thinking about it. Can I get on this podium? He rounds the final corner. He makes that last little straightaway. Oh, a little bobble there. He grabs the win, and
he gets
5th place overall.
5th place overall. So both Strang and Ashburn were able to best him on adjusted time. If we look at the adjusted time there, wow, a 28:04 lap time to a 26:26. Josh Strang actually turned the fastest lap that last time around, but on 3:10:03, actually 33-second difference at the end of that one is what separated he and Strang for 4th anyway.
And then another 5 seconds up to
38 seconds. So
Jordan Ashburn. So 43 seconds is the difference there. You know, and Nick Davis, unfortunately, if you look at it there, I mean, a great ride for him. You know he's going to be happy with the win, but that 28:08 lap or 28:28 lap time is what did it. Or I'm sorry, I was looking down at Jason Thomas. You said it was 28:08, 28:04 final lap time. That was the difference with those guys being 26:41 for Jordan Ashburn. So he was right there, but that minute or so that he gave up on the last lap was the difference between the final podium position.
Wow, look at that. Jordan Ashburn turned a full minute and 10-second faster lap than Grant Baylor on the final lap. And Ashburn, I think we're witnessing the possible arrival of this young man finally. We might have just seen what it was going to take to put him into contention week after week, my friends.
Yeah, and here we see Chris Bach working his way across the finish line. Should put him into 6th place overall and 5th place in XC1. Certainly not the ride he was looking for today, but a good salvage after it looks like we have lost Stu Baylor. We had last seen him in 4th place, and he's dropped back to at least 7th. We'll have to wait and see when he checks in. Also, we should be seeing Jason Thomas checking in, and potentially there is Thomas right there. So that's probably going to move Thomas up to the 6th place position, bumping back to 6th or 7th place overall. And also, as we watch Jason Thomas cross the finish line here, keep in mind, this is you see him with the fist pump right there. He knows it. 2nd place. Oh,
There's his dad. That's his dad. Welcome to the U.S. His papa came over to help him celebrate this championship, it looks like.
And there you have it, your XC2 champion in 2015, Jason Thomas.
Well, I tell you, man, that is awesome to be able to see his dad come over and be with him winning the championship. We saw this a few years ago when he won a championship earlier, and you could tell that Dad was extremely proud, waving the Wales flag over there, and really stoked with what was going on there for his son for sure. Look at that, the embrace that they're sharing right here, right now. So much sacrifice. Think about this. So much sacrifice by a father, so much sacrifice by a son. And these are the rewards that they receive.
Absolutely. You know, every parent out there that your kids want to go racing, you know all the sacrifices that you make to make that happen. So to see him be able to celebrate with Jason here today after that championship, 2nd place ride today, he'll get to go up on the podium, and he's got to be a happy guy.
You know, as a father, I've got a son. I know what it's like. I remember what it was like to put my son on his bike the first day. And I'm sure that he has reflections of that first time he ever saw his son put his leg over a motorcycle and ride it. To this day right here, to see him win his 2nd XC2 Pro Lights Championship like this. It's a great feeling as a father, no doubt. Auntie Colin over there to congratulate Jason Thomas on his accolades here this year. There's his team manager and a real good friend of his now, of course, Shane Watts there, former GNCC champion from back in 2000. The one that kind of set the standard and got the I mean, we'd seen other riders come over from Europe before in different places in other countries, but he's the one that really established the fact that someone else other than an American could win. And once he did that, the floodgates have opened, man.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen so many international champions since then and so many international race winners. And, you know, like you said, Shane Watts kind of in a very unconventional way opening that door, coming over here, sleeping under his motorhome, winning on all kinds of different bikes. You know, Shane Watts has always done things his way, and he matched up well with Jason Thomas, and between the two of them, they got together to win this title this year.
Most certainly. And, you know, I look back and I reflect on the many years ago that it was at Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC that we first got introduced to UKJT back in the day, and what he has been able to amass since that day. Pretty spectacular, to say the least. Congratulations to you, Jason Thomas, and congratulations to our top finishers in the XC1 Pro class who have made their way over to the podium right now. They're standing by with Megawatt Matt Watson. The masses are beginning to gather here at the podium as they are about to celebrate the first win of 2015 for the 989 of Thad Duvall, as well as what could be a new look to GNCC with these new faces making their way on the podium. Let's head on over to Megawatt Matt Watson, who stands by with our top three XC1.
Thanks a lot, Rodney. We got these guys up here on the podium. Now, hey, make some noise for our top 3 overall. Jordan Ashburn in 3rd place, Stuart Baylor in 2nd place, and Thad Duvall in first. Grant Baylor, I'm sorry. I knew I was going to do that and didn't want to do that. Hey, these guys are a hard-fought race, no doubt. We got to get them up front here, get Ken Hill's pictures for them. We got everybody's you got it, Ken? We good to go? All right, we got to get everybody in the front here. Come on up here, Grant. Come on up in the middle, boss. Jordan, we'll get you right up here. We got to get our picture with Ken Hill. Yep, absolutely. An unbelievable race. I tell you what, these guys, 3 hours, and they finished, what, less than a minute apart or so. Make some noise for these guys. Come on, Somerset. Are you kidding me? Is that a joke? Seriously. That's what I'm talking about. These guys put in a heck of an effort. These guys put in a... Where are we at? Uh-oh. You guys break my microphone? There we go. We got it back in action one more time. Oh. All right. There we go. Hey, we're going to make our way over here with Jordan Ashburn in 3rd place today. Jordan, wow. All kinds of stuff going on out there today, huh, man? Not knowing where you're going to finish exactly overall, trying to figure out time, trying to figure out pit strategy, all kinds of stuff happening out there today.
Yeah, definitely. It was a really it's a really good day to start with. I mean, I got a really good start and got out front early and led the first 3 laps, and then Thad got up to me, and a rear tire actually come off a rim, so I had to make a run to the pits and switch wheels and stuff. And by that time, I was just hoping to get back in it, and didn't really know where I was, and come around the next lap, and I was in 4th, and I was like, gotta go.
How much you have left in the tank at the end?
I was pretty empty. I mean, I was pushing really hard at the end, just trying to hold what we got. Me and Josh and Stu had a real good battle last lap, but it was good.
Well, I tell you what, man, it was a heck of a performance, man. I know you got to be proud with this performance, and there's a lot of people in your program that help you get up here today and get this great finish. Who do you want to thank, man?
First of all, I thank the Lord Jesus Christ, and I want to thank the whole AmPro Yamaha team, my mom and dad, MSR Gears, City Boots, just everybody out there that's helping me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Hey, make some noise, you guys. Jordan Ashburn, 3rd place today. A great ride. Make our way over here to Grant Baylor. Now, Grant, I want to tell you something. You look flawless, like you said, man. You had a great ride going on. Had a great ride on. Things look really good for you. And first thing I asked you was about the eyes, and you said, man, they're burnt, they're toast. I had to make the decision to go without the goggles, and the end result is painful eyes.
Yeah, definitely. I started out the day with a good start. I was 3rd off the line and moved into 2nd pretty quick, and then Thad came by me in the pits, and I was actually grabbing some more goggles, and I stopped and got goggles the first 3 laps, and then I decided it was just a waste of time. I was putting goggles on and literally going 10 corners, and they were fogging up because of the fog up here and mist and everything else, and the goggles just weren't working for me, so I decided to run without them, and the lappers were kicking up some roost in my eyes, which made it hard to see, and then I got a 2nd win and found my groove and just started riding, felt awesome, and felt like I was just floating over the rock gardens, and then I caught up to Thad, and he stopped the pit, and I got by him, and then got to one of the rock gardens and fell down, and he went by, so after that I followed him, and then last lap I was right behind him and decided I'd crash and just let him have it easy. I couldn't pressure him too much, 50 seconds behind. So kind of sucks. I fell back, but Thad rode awesome all day. Congrats to him.
Well, it was an amazing race to watch, man. You should be proud of yourself, that's for sure. And I know you have a bunch of people that you want to thank as well, bud.
For sure, the whole N5 and Pro Yamaha team, and my mechanic, my mom and dad, my brother. Everybody out here cheering me on, and 100% goggles, bell helmets, CD boots, lit neck braces, Kenda tires. My tires were hooking up awesome all day. Battery connection, suspension, and everybody else I forgot. I'm sorry.
Well, congratulations, dude. Hey, make some noise for this guy who rode our Grant Baylor, 2nd place overall today. All right, and the original Wild Child, Bad Thad, man. Able to put it together, able to make a couple different charges today, it looked like. And, man, the end result up here in the middle of the podium, get the first win of the year.
Yeah, it feels good. Just, I wish Caleb was here 100% healthy just to see where I stack up. He rides really good and stuff like this. But, I'll take the win. These guys rode good. I got off to a decent start, and, I got with Grant, and, I thought me and him were in the lead, so I was just kind of pacing off him. Then we came around and got a pit board that said 20 back from Ashburn, and I'm like, I need to pick it up, and I got around Grant there the first couple laps and put on a charge and caught Jordan. Had a little battle with him, and then got away from him, and then just tried to ride my own race, and then the next thing I look back and the kid's back there. So, he was riding good. He caught me, and we went back and forth a couple times, and I knew I was good to go for the last lap, so I knew he probably had to pit or something. So, once we come through the pits, I put my head down and charged, and he said he went down a couple times, but that's he rode good, and I stayed up on 2 wheels the last lap, and I only had one crash all day, and I think that's the reason why I'm up on the podium. I was just smooth and consistent, and I don't think I was the fastest one all day, but I think I was just the one that stayed on 2 wheels and kept going all day, and it was awesome. I don't really like this place, but just today everything clicked, and it's been good. I've only rode a couple times the last couple weeks, and sometimes when you step on the bike, after a little time off, you just feel fresh, and that's what I've been feeling good. it's been good. You know, Fred Andrews come down to the house last weekend, and we made a few changes to my bike, and you know, it really paid off today.
It absolutely did. And I mean, you mentioned Fred Andrews. I know there's a ton of people you want to thank, but before we do that, I told you when you come off the track, that reminded me of Super Mini Thad Duvall, man. You look like you were having so much fun out there, and it just reminded me of the mini days.
Yeah, you know, I had a blast. You know, the Husqvarna's working awesome, and you know, I got to thank my dad and DQ. You know, they spent some time on this bike and getting it ready, and you know, Rocky Mountain ATV, MC, Fly Gear. You know, the Maxxis tires worked really well today, and you know, the factory connection stuff hooked up really well. Enduro Engineering, like I said, Fred Andrews, the whole KR4 team, my mom, my fiance Maggie, just everybody out there today. It was awesome, and I'm glad to get the win today.
Awesome. We're glad for you, man. We're going to stand back. We're going to let you have the champagne spray.
And I got to give a little shout out to my little niece Briley today. You know, she made the trek up this weekend, and you know, this wins for her. And then you know, another thing is I lost a good friend a couple weeks ago, and you know, I wore his shirt today, Westbrook Strong, and you know, it's awesome, and I dedicate this win to him.
Awesome. Hey, I want to tell you, pick up that champagne and bust it for Westbrook, man. Let's pop this bottle. Make some noise one more time, Somerset. And so goes the spray, man. A great race. Jordan Ashburn, Grant Baylor, and Thad Duvall making it about as exciting race as we've seen for quite some time. Chad getting a little sip of the bubbly right there. I'm with you, Dad. Great job, buddy, for sure. All right, where's our, let's see. We're going to get our XC2 riders up here in just 1 second. And in a few minutes, we're actually going to have a #1 plate presentation to Jason Thomas. We're going to take care of today's awards, and then we're going to have GNCC official Jeff Russell come up and present the #1 plate to Jason Thomas today.
Well, certainly all smiles on the podium today for Thad Duvall as he takes his first win of the 2015 season. It's a win that has been coming for some time, and we
All right, everybody, got our XC2 podium lined up. We'll get our pictures taken and begin our interviews. All right, make some noise, you guys, for our XC2 podium. You talk about an exciting race here. No doubt about it. These guys on the gas for 3 entire hours. We've got our third-place finisher right here, Ben Kelly. Man, oh, man, a big day for you. Tell us all about it, dude.
It was gnarly out there. Just wanted to get out there first lap, take it a little bit easy and not get stuck. Track turned out to be really good. Traction was a lot better than I expected, and had a lot of fun out there. Not too many mistakes, and just kept going all day.
That was the key today, the mistakes, huh?
Yeah, I crashed once in the beginning, and then from then on, I just tried to keep it going smooth and not crash.
Well, the smile on your face about says it all, man. You got to be super pumped and proud of yourself for sure. And I know you got a lot of people that helped make it possible, man. Get you up here in the fog today, get you on the podium today for sure.
Yeah, I'm really pumped, and I just want to thank everybody for helping me out. My parents especially for everything they do. Couldn't do it without them. Also want to thank Ross with Trail Jesters, Jill's with GTR Suspension, Mitch at Strictly Dirt, Edelman's, Motorex, Moose Racing, and everyone else that helps me out. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Hey, put your hands together for Ben Kelly. Great ride today, man. Absolutely great performance. Jason Thomas over here, JT, in the number 2 ride today. Tell us a little bit about how things were in the office.
Yeah, I got a good start, and me and Nick got together like we always do, and we caught the XC1 guys, and he got in front of me, and I think he took his goggles off, got in front of them, and then they filled me in, and I didn't have any goggles, and I almost had a big crash out in the fast stuff, hit a big pile of rocks, and just I couldn't catch him, and I just went into championship mode. To be honest, I was just afraid of getting hurt, and I had a big gap on third, so it was no big deal. So yeah, just rode it in, and I'm happy with the way it went.
Yeah, absolutely. Got the championship in mind, and we're going to award that plate to you here in just a minute. And then as we do that, we'll get the long list of sponsors. But who's the short list that helped you out today?
Yeah, obviously Shane Watts are putting the whole team together. He's done an awesome job all year. Dirtwise Riding Schools and DVDs, Max's Tires, Climb Technical Riding Gear, Leap Braces, SRT, and all the other great sponsors. It's been an awesome year, and I'm happy to bring a championship home for all these guys.
Right on. Congratulations on a great year. Put your hands together for Jason Thomas, everybody, your new champion and second place overall today. Now, Nick, I love talking to you. You always got this great smile on your face. You always got a positive spin on everything for sure. Well, today it doesn't get more positive than first place.
No, for sure. Had a really good day. Got off to an awesome start, grabbed the whole shot. And like Jason said, we always find each other. So we got together and just really started ripping, and then pitted. After that, I was like, man, I'm going to drop the hammer. So got around, got into the lead, and started hammering down, and actually worked my way up into third overall. So really was pushing pretty hard for that, and going on the last lap, I had a pretty good lead in XC2 and then third overall. And unfortunately, I kind of bit the dust, got a little squirrely, and hit the ground pretty hard. So salvaged what I could, and I think I ended up 5th and got the win, so I couldn't be happier.
Man, I'd have to say now, quite the contrast from when we started a few hours ago as far as visibility is concerned. What was going through your mind, right, when they yelled 10 seconds and Ricky Terry dropped that flag?
Yeah, I was actually like, this is crazy because I can barely see him in the first corner. So it was pretty tough today. I mean, obviously it was cold, and goggles were a huge issue for me. It was just like the mist out in the open. You were constantly pulling tear-offs or roll-offs. So it was definitely not an easy win, that's for sure. You had to fight all the elements and the rocks and everything else. But it worked out, and I'm just happy with the win.
No doubt about it. And there's a ton of people that helped you get up here, buddy. Who you want to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Rocky Mountain, ATV MC, KR4, FAR, Fly, Maxis, Ride PG Suspension, Stickman Graphics, Amsoil, just everybody. I got to give a huge shout out to everybody. My dad, my whole family, the Andrews family, my buddy Dave Jennings. He just drives all over the place just to pull me through the mud. So it's really amazing. It's a whole family effort and team effort, and without them guys, I wouldn't even be standing here. So I got to really give a shout out to everybody that just backs me 100% with everything I do. And congratulations for Jason locking up the championship, and hopefully next year I can say I locked it up.
Right on. Hey, and in the fog today, you ripped the whole shot, didn't you?
Yeah. Yep.
Right on. Well, we'll hit you with that award here in just a second. Grab that bubbly right there, man. Let's throw down a little spray first and celebrate this. We'll get some pictures with this whole shot award, and then we're going to talk to Jason about that #1 plate. Congratulations to all these guys today: Ben Kelly, Jason Thomas, and Nick Davis. An amazing ride here in our XC2 class. All right, Nick, for getting that whole shot in the fog today. The XC2 whole shot award goes to you, my man. And once again, a hard-fought battle amongst these three today. Entertaining race, one of the most exciting races we've seen in quite some time. All right, and I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us today. We're going to now award our #1 plate to Jason Thomas, and to do that, we're going to have Mr. Jeff Russell, our race official here from Racer Productions. As soon as we clear the stage here, 1 second, Jeff, we'll get Jason in the middle. And I want to tell you, got so many compliments on the efforts of your crew. And I told everybody, I said, you and I and all these guys, we've been standing in rain since Thursday.
Yeah, it's been a tough week here for sure, Matt. And just amazed that people come out and tough this out. And, you know, just look forward to Florida, I guess. I sure am.
You know, Jeff, we take it for granted a lot. It's the life we live and what we do. But to hear everybody compliment us so hard today and recognize the efforts, because let me tell you, if they just saw this place in the dark this morning, everything that needed repaired, they have no idea. And, you know, I see it each and every week, and I certainly have to commend you. But I do want to let you know that each and every one of these people that braved the elements today were super pumped with not only the course, but the conditions of everything around from the parking on down.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And like I said, it's just not me; it's my whole crew. You know, from Tommy to Barry to Volton to Joel and all the guys working the start and Dean. I mean, it goes on. And even the sign-up people sitting in that tent all weekend. I'm sure that wasn't. It was a breezy experience too.
You better believe it. Well, hey, it's your honor right now to get over here and hand this #1 plate to Jason Thomas and. We'll let you take care of that. We'll get away from this speaker, and we'll let you do that right now, Jeff.
Okay, Jason, on behalf of Racer Productions, GNCC, it's my pleasure to present you the #1 plate for 2015.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Hey, Jason. You know, you just got awarded the plate there by Jeff Russell, and it's a bunch of emotions. Let me get out of the way here so these guys can get the pictures. But, you know, going to have you share some thoughts with us here in just a moment. Jason, here it is again. You know, you just received that #1 plate, and all kinds of emotions, I'm sure, at this time. But how satisfying is it to win in the manner that you did, to win it, wrap it up early like you did? And, you know, how many wins? 6 wins? 7 wins. So, you know, that's got to be really satisfying, boss.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's been a really up and down year, really, you know, behind the scenes. We started out from rock bottom, and I mean rock bottom. You know, I didn't really think I was going to be able to do it. And you know, from January, you know, me and Watsy were in his front room doing some exercise video at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I think about them days. And you know, Josh Strang has had me out there pedaling with Callum May. You know, we've been out there 6 o'clock in the morning again. You know, and I've just been like, man, what are we doing this for? You know, and here it is. This is what we did it for. And you know, everyone's worked hard to get it, not just me. You know, it took a whole team of people. And you know, my mechanic that started out the year with me, Wombat, he's not here. But, you know, big shout out to him. He won a lot of races with me, and he was a big part of this championship for sure, the same as everyone else was, you know. So thank you to all of them, and I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, I'll present to you your 2015 XC2 Pro Lights champion, Jason Thomas. One more time, folks. Make some noise for this guy. A great season. He worked hard. Thanks to each and every one of you for dealing with the conditions out here today. We've got a couple more awards to give out yet. Chris Douglas going to meet us over here in front of the podium.
Well, without a doubt, as Jason Thomas had pointed out, the hard work and the effort that's put in, you know, sometimes you question, what am I doing? And it's moments like these that it all comes to fruition, and it makes it all worth it. And you know exactly why. You get that feeling when you are presented that #1 plate and become a champion. And this guy right here may not have won a championship, but I'm sure that he has about as good a feeling as anybody does right now as he grabbed our Whole Shot Award, his second race out on a brand new ride on that Obermeyer Suzuki there, as we head down to the podium once again with our Whole Shot Award winner.
Yeah, absolutely. Our XC1 Bike Whole Shot Award winner, Chris Douglas, here today. And what, second ride on a Suzuki? Is that what Rodney was just saying?
Yeah, my second ride. I just got this ride from Keith Obermeyer, and he's been great. You know, he's anything I need, and Suzuki cycles, just a whole new program, and it's been really good. So.
Awesome. Well, you got a great start. You got a solid finish here today, and you got a little award from All Balls right there for your efforts on the start.
Yeah, it's awesome. I really appreciate that.
Anybody you want to thank for helping you get up here and get this whole shot?
Yeah, Obermeyer, Suzuki, Yoshimura, Fly, Acherbys, Sunstar, Maxis, just everyone. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to you, man. Hope to see you up here more, too, for sure. Definitely. Great job.
Well, there you go, your All Balls Whole Shot Award winner, Chris Douglas, and the new ride, the new program, and a new life breathed into that program. Should be seeing some pretty exciting things come out of that area here in the future, I believe. Cincinnati's about to be on the map in a big way as far as GNCC is concerned if he continues at this pace. And another rider that's continuing at a pretty good pace today is we've got a new top amateur award winner today. He actually hails from out of Clarion, PA. This one, the number 50 of Mason Atherton, as we check in with Johnny Gallagher down at the podium.
Thanks, Rodney. As you mentioned, we've got our first-time top amateur overall winner, Mason Atherton, from a home state boy from PA. Mason, great day for you today. We were just talking a little bit over there. You said how excited you were. You know, you've been working for this all year. This is also your first 250A win of 2015. Tell us a little bit about the day.
Oh, geez, I don't know. It was just wild. From the first, I got the whole shot, and then I just pinned it from there, and it went well.
You said you had some good battles out there early in the race. We were watching that on RacerTV Live. Rodney was commenting. You were battling back and forth with, I believe it was Brian Gunther. You said you guys traded the lead several times. Tell us a little bit about that. Did you have any idea you were battling for this top amateur overall, or were you thinking you were just going for the 250A win?
I thought I was just going for the 250A win. I knew I was like the 7th row, and there were so many people I had to pass. But, yeah, me and Brian Gunther, we were going back and forth. I don't know how many times. He was right on me, and then I think he wrecked or something, and then I just didn't see him after that. So, I don't know.
Well, at 18 years old, you certainly got a bright future ahead of you. So to see you up here, you get a chance to thank all your sponsors and all that. What's this mean to you today to be up here at the top overall amateur out of all these riders? First time, your first class win of 2015. Is it a little bit overwhelming?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this. I was just planning on getting like top 3 in 250A, but it turned out better. So it's just a boost to confidence for sure.
At what point did you actually know you had this one? Was it when you crossed the finish line, or did they tell you when you pitted?
Well, I didn't know I had the top amateur at all, like the whole race. I had no idea.
So it wasn't until you actually crossed the finish line? Well, hey, we got a check here from American Cargo for the top amateur. We'll let you hold that. They're going to get some photos of you. $125 to help you get to the next race so you can come out and try and do it again. I'm sure you got more people than I see. You got some fans here. You got some people you want to thank?
Oh, yeah, my parents for sure right there. Uncle Aaron for coming out. You know, my fitness trainer, Walt Minnick Fitness at Clarion, PA. Beaver Creek Cycles, MX Parts Online, and most importantly, Jesus Christ.
All right, there he is, folks. Your overall amateur, Mason Atherton. Let's hear it for him. And back to you, Rodney.
All righty, thanks a lot there, Johnny Gallagher, and congratulations to Mason on an outstanding performance today, and the first, I'm sure, of what could be many to come. And with that, that's going to bring us pretty much to a close today. With we also want to say congratulations to our AMSOIL Twitter contest winner, picking up $250 in AMSOIL product today, is Alan Zawadsky. AZ Zawadsky, that's at AZ Zawadsky, as you look at his Twitter handle. He hashtagged GNCC Live with Thad Duvall taking the win, Jordan Ashburn in second, and Grant Baylor in the number 3 spot. Not quite that exactly, but what he did get was $250 in AMSOIL products. So congratulations to him. And congratulations to all, and thank you all as well for tuning in to RacerTV and GNCC Live. On behalf of Johnny Gallagher, Megawatt, Matt Watson, and all of RacerTV.com, I'm Rodney Tomlin. Have a great day, everybody.